Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
And a good Tuesday to everybody here. It is 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAW, the talk of Las Vegas. The Vegas Take coming your way live. Chris Wynn along with J.D. Sharp. Also, of course, Campaign Stein in the building handling their business. You can catch us streaming live on the World Wide Web at the YouTube page at the Vegas Take Radio. Also, you can catch us on the iHeart Radio app. Brian Shapiro, all you fans out there, don't worry, never fear. He's in the building. We're just making sure that he's physically okay. He's had a couple issues yesterday, so there's a very strong possibility that Brian will be part of the show, right, JD?
He's doing his best Anderson Hunt impression right now.
We want to make sure that he's in tip-top shape, so we have him here, and we're kind of taking care of him. So he is here. My name's Chris Wynn. I am subbing in at least for the first hour, maybe the first 3 hours of the show, which would be the entirety. We shall see how this all shakes out.
Indeed it would, Chris. Indeed it would.
We do. And we have a very busy show today, as you would expect. We're going to be discussing with Brian Ping from KNX Radio in Los Angeles what has happened as far as COVID-19 and our neighboring state in California. Of course, as we pointed out numerous times, there is the coalition between all the states, including here in the state of Nevada, as to how the reopening plan is going to go down. And so all those states are involved in that. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be taking your phone calls, 702-257-5396, regarding the reopening and what the consequences could be. Because the former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, had some comments when he went on a podcast, the Daily DC, earlier this week, talking about the new model and what that we could expect as far as casualties with respect to COVID-19. So we're going to talk about that, kind of get your thoughts and your phone calls and your takes on that type of situation. Our own host here at KDWA, Sean Hannity, had some comments on extremists, and they were absolutely newsworthy. And I'm sure a lot of you have a perspective on that. We also do have our own take. So we're going to talk about that in the 10 o'clock hour. Then at the bottom of the 10 o'clock hour, Jack Posobiec. He is a reporter and anchor with OAN, One American News Network, a network of choice, by the way, of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. He's a fan of this network.
I'll tell you something. You're going to really appreciate this, Chris. But Donald Trump Jr. and a family called the Hicks family out of Dallas have just bought a share into OAN.
Not a surprise.
So the Trump family is likely going to be financially associated with this network moving forward. So I think that OAN is probably looking to replace Fox in the eyes of the Trump clan.
Well, you know the deal, right, JD? If Donald Trump didn't win the 2016 election, there was a good possibility, right? I think I'm fair to say this, that the Trump organization and the Trump family were going to go into the news business, right? Not the news business, but have some type of network, right?
Absolutely.
That they were going to move forward with. So
I think this has been a long time coming. Absolutely.
Yeah, it isn't something that's necessarily surprising. So we'll talk to Jack at 10:30. Look, this is a organization, OAN, that there's been a lot of controversy about, and there's going to be a couple things, obviously, that we're going to press Jack on as far as what the organization represents and exactly what their role is when it comes to coverage of the Trump administration and all things Washington, D.C. At 11 o'clock hour, Evan Stone. He is a big-time adult entertainer from the 90s and early 2000s and continues to be in that business. He's going to be here live in my humble abode, JD. He's coming here. He lives in Las Vegas. He lives very close to where I live here in Spring Valley, by the way. So we'll get a chance to talk to Evan. And he's been very outspoken lately.
I think he's going to look good on this leopard print couch, actually.
I think he's going to be very comfortable. JD in this whole atmosphere here that is
right at home. This is a bit of a kind of a bachelor pad, if you will, or
exactly.
You could even say a porn star pad if you wanted to.
You could say that.
And when
I don't take offense to that whatsoever.
I don't blame you for not taking
comments.
offense to that, but I think that he definitely would fit in pretty well here.
He will, and he's been very vocal as of late when it comes to all things politics. Obviously, the COVID-19. We'll ask him how he's dealing with that, with the hashtag Vegas shutdown here in the city of Las Vegas, and a number of other topics as he joins us in the 11 o'clock hour. The phone number, once again, is 702-257-5396. We'd love to have your opinions, your takes, your phone calls throughout the show. Now, at the top of the show, we're going to talk about JD yesterday. There's been obviously the void, right, that Americans have felt across the board in all types of society, whether it's entertainment, whether it's obviously, whatever industry that you work in, if you are out of work, if you're unemployed, and also in sports, right? Sports has been a huge void for a lot of people. Well, last night, a lot of individuals that wanted and needed a fix when it came to sporting events and an opportunity to watch things live got their wish, because the KBO, which is the Korean Baseball League, it's the highest baseball league in that country, started their season basically, and ESPN here in the United States has decided that they are going to be showing all these games throughout the week.
Chris, in Korea, one of those countries that was hit very hard early on by Corona. They are now, apparently, they're a little bit ahead of us in their reopening, and they're getting back to normal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This would be obviously a huge sign of that. They're playing baseball. They have fans in the stands in those games?
They do not have fans in the stands. It looked like there was a spattering of family members and or media. Wasn't exactly sure what. There were a couple people, floating around there, obviously practicing severe social distancing, because you're in a stadium that holds 25,000, and there might have been 20 to 25 people in the stands.
You're talking like 150 yards apart.
Well, not 150 yards, but they're doing at least the 6 feet, right? Which is required. But we had a chance to catch the game yesterday. It was it was actually the Samsung Lions.
I made a large wager on this game, Chris. I'm pretty familiar with the
against the Dinos,
right?
Which was a quality name, by the way.
Was Samsung like the television?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, see, that's the deal.
Their team is sponsored by a.
They're all of the teams in Korea are sponsored basically by major corporations, whether it's Samsung, whether it's Kia, whether it's a number of them.
How about like the Apple Murder Hornets against the Google Wildebeest?
We could have that. That could be a possibility.
That could take place.
There's a lot of more mild names though, JD, in the Korean Baseball League. Traditional like Lions and Tigers and Bears was one of the teams, which was also sponsored. They're all sponsored by companies though, so it's kind of weird. But it's on national television, obviously in Korea. But yesterday we got a taste of it here in the United States, and they had Carl Ravitch as well as a former baseball player, and then they bring in people like Jeff Passan and actually former Korean MVP Eric. He played for the Milwaukee Brewers. He just got signed by the Washington Nationals. The outfielder, his last name slipped me right now, but they had him on to talk about the impact of baseball being shown in the United States.
Eric Thames.
Eric Thames, yes, Eric Thames. Yeah. They had him on. He was a former MVP.
He just bombs home runs.
The guy just
that's it. He hits like 190 and just bombs home runs.
Yeah, he hits moonshots. But he was reflecting on the whole Korean thing.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, it's an opportunity, right? Especially here in Vegas, right, JD, for those of us who like to have a little sports wager to, and that if we have the mobile app, because obviously with sportsbooks closed right now, if you want to bet on anything as far as sports is concerned, you got to have some type of app. So we had an opportunity to put it in. Myself and Brian were here at the house yesterday and watched it. Now, the games are on at 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. So that situation was a little bit strange. But it was live baseball. It was something we could actually pay attention to.
Unfortunately for me and a lot of people in Southern Nevada, there was a Cox cable outage that went from about 4 p.m. till, I don't know, overnight, because I went to sleep, and when I woke up, the TV was back on.
Really?
But at least midnight, there was no cable and internet provided by Cox. There was some kind of some kind of issue, some kind of technical issue, so I had no internet. I should have come over and watched it, but it was at 10 o'clock, and what time did it go till? About 12?
It went till about
1 o'clock?
No, it went to about 1:30 in the morning. I want to say 1:15-ish. Because, how textbook is this, Stein and JD? First game that they're showing in the United States of the KBO, Korean Baseball League, rain delay. Okay? It had some sprinkles going on in the city that I can't pronounce in Korea, okay, where the game was being played.
Was it Pyongyang?
It was not Pyongyang.
Okay,
That would be in North Korea. This is South Korea.
All right.
And it's JD. It's funny. There's 8 teams, right? There's 10 teams in 8 cities in Korea. I think 3 are in Seoul, which is obviously the largest city, and then spread throughout the country. But this whole thing that we have a fix now, guys, right? I mean, there's an opportunity for sports bettors and for sports fans, especially baseball fans, to actually fixate on something.
And bottom line, you and Brian both lost money.
We did. Absolutely.
How much?
It was low ball for me. I put a 30 spot down, JD. You know me. I'm not big. I'm not a big time guy when it comes to. I'm not putting up. I don't know if Brian Shapiro puts me at liberty to say how much he bet. But
it was.
Let's put it this way.
But it was
much more.
It was one game.
Put it this way.
You didn't do a parlay.
It's about 400 times more.
He did do a
parlay.
parlay.
He put
You would
or
say
he put about 40 times more on it than I did. Let's put the numbers out there.
And he only bet on Samsung was the underdog, right?
Yes, he bet on
Samsung.
He bet on the Samsung Lions
only because you bet on the other team.
Exactly,
and it backfired on him.
And you know what? It's apropos because it's the Lions.
So
and by the way, they have the same logo basically as the Detroit Lions.
You took the over, right?
No, I tried. See, that's what I tried to do. I tried to go on the app and I said, "Look, I'm going to bet this. I'm going to bet this team, and I'm going to take the over on this game." And they won't let you do it for some reason in Korea. For some reason on Korean baseball, they just won't let you do it. So it was kind of strange, but it's good to have live sports on TV, I guess, right? For sports fans out there, obviously baseball fans will be fired up. And we'll see how that progresses as far as how we do this.
For those of you looking to travel to Taiwan anytime soon, they were just approved for at least 250 people in their stands to watch games.
Yep. It's the Vegas Take coming away live here from my house in Spring Valley. And myself, JD Sharp, here live. On the other side, we're going to dip into what former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, had to say regarding COVID-19 and the possibilities of what that means. Also, we're going to talk to Brian Ping from KNX Radio in Southern California regarding how that state is dealing with the shutdown. It's a Tuesday here on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. Chris Wynn, JD Sharp in your radio.
You've heard me talk about Homey and how they will save you thousands of dollars when you buy or sell a home. Not only are they disrupting the traditional real estate model, but I am blown away by how they are investing in our local community during these tough times. I couldn't be more proud to endorse Homey, and here's why. Homey is committing up to $100,000 to the United Way of Southern Nevada to help keep people in their homes through rent and mortgage assistance for those impacted by COVID-19. For every home bought or sold with Homey over the next 90 days, they will donate $500 to the United Way. Even more importantly, Homey will rebate their entire $2,500 listing fee back to you if you are forced to sell your home due to this crisis. That's right, no selling fee. That's huge. It's amazing to see a new company in Las Vegas step up in such a big way. Text JD to 88588 to buy or sell with Homey. Again, text JD to 88588. Stay safe and save thousands. Homey really does have our back.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take underway on a Tuesday. Chris went in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp. 10 o'clock hour. Our host here at KDWN, Sean Hannity, had comments regarding extremists. Of course, there's been protests that have been popping up all across the country and here, obviously here in Nevada, in Las Vegas and Carson City. For those that, look, people are scared and people want to go back to work. They want the economy to open up. And I think that's something that all of us would like to happen. And there's a lot of very vocal people out there that are, expressing their viewpoints. And look, the fact of the matter is this, though, right, guys, that a lot of parts of the country are reopening. There's a lot of states that have taken steps to reopen, and we'll see how this all shakes out. And joining us right now on the phone lines, he is a anchor down in Southern California. Does a tremendous job down there at KNX Radio. Brian Ping joining us here on the show. Brian, we really appreciate your time. How are you?
What's up, Brian?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Doing very well. Of course, reopening California expected to begin this week. Governor Newsom has said I was reading in the LA Times that he's announced that retail stores across the state can reopen with modifications as early as Friday amid, of course, growing pressure to ease the stay-at-home order that is, basically cratered California's economy. We all understand, right, how important California is from a standpoint, from an economic standpoint. You're talking about the fifth largest economy in the world, and it's instrumental when it comes to the West Coast. And obviously, we know about the coalition between California, Oregon, Washington, obviously Nevada, and Colorado. But it's kind of a strange thing, right? Because it feels like, Brian, there's a collision, right, between those who are thinking about the economics and those who are thinking about the science and that type of approach. Is that something that is relevant, obviously, there in your state of California?
Well, for the most part, a lot of people support what Governor Newsom is doing. He's got about a 70-71% approval rating with how he's handling the situation. But you're right. There are some people that are very upset with this. They're a vocal minority, but they're a minority nonetheless. And they're making their voices heard at the state capitol and down at the beaches in Orange County, which has been a big contention point. The closures of the beaches last weekend were a really hot point of contention.
Right.
But as far as what he's doing, what he wants to do by the end of the week, it's the smallest of baby steps. I mean, yeah, some parts of the retail sector are opening, but it's just curbside pickups for, toy stores, bookstores, florists. I mean, hey, Mother's Day coming up, so that's convenient. But it's basically the same principle from what we're seeing at restaurants. You can only go up, grab something, and go.
Yes.
So, like I said, just the smallest of steps, and where we go from here just kind of depends on how those numbers come in.
Yeah, why do you think he's calling it stage 2 instead of phase 2, Brian? Because right now we kind of have basically the same thing in Nevada, and we just signed the Western PACS coalition with Oregon and Colorado and California and Washington, obviously. But we're still in phase 0. So why do you think he's calling it stage 2?
JD, it's kind of confusing actually because of the verbiage, and it's like separate stages, but they're subdivided into phases. Because I look at the list of stage 2 and I see, okay, some retail can open modified, and that's what he wants to do. But you also have the reopening of schools and childcare,
right,
technically in that stage, and we're nowhere close to that happening. The superintendent of LA Unified School District said yesterday he plans on the school year starting on time August 18th, but he still can't tell at this point whether that's actually going to be in-person schooling. So we don't even know if we're going to be able to open our schools by mid-August. So it's kind of a sub-stage, if you will. It is kind of confusing. I wouldn't get held up too much on the numbers, I suppose. It's just, what's open, what's not, and very incremental steps.
What is the state of testing in the state of California? Obviously, this is something that has become a major look across the country. I think this is something that should be more focused on. I think that's kind of been pushed to the wayside, to be quite honest with you, Brian. How is that issue being dealt with in your state from a standpoint of helping make decisions as to what exactly and when exactly we should be reopening?
Well, we heard yesterday that we're up to about 30,000 tests a day, so they're making progress. But make no mistake about it, we really lagged in terms of getting testing started from the get-go. I believe we ranked 50th dead last per capita up until probably a couple of weeks ago. But they've really started to ramp that up as of about last week. At some point last week, it was announced by the mayor of Los Angeles that anybody who wanted a test in Los Angeles County could get one, whether you have symptoms or not. Now, you have to make an appointment, and there's still, it's kind of a logistical hassle. I know of some friends who have called in, couldn't get an appointment just yet, so a lot of kinks to work out. But they're getting to the phase where we can test the population at large, and I think that is one of the most important things, to test not just the people who are sick and who are suspected of having it, but everybody, because, there's this mentality that we have to have a social distancing. Everyone's a potential carrier, and thus everybody in the population has to have these tests at least available to them.
Brian Pink joining us here on the Vegas Take, does a great job with KNX Radio as a anchor over there in California. Of course, JD and myself, Brian, we brought up the coalition, right, between the states. What do you think about that? And what's your take on what exactly that means, and what do you think about the approach that Governor Newsom's going to take with respect to all the other states surrounding California? Obviously, that in the short term, when we start coming out of and we start opening stuff up, it's going to be extremely important, right? How that all shakes out between all the states there.
It makes sense because you take the West Coast states, including Nevada, there, and all four of those states have governors that are pretty much ideologically aligned. Newsom,
right.
Brown, Sisolak, and then in Colorado as well. It's important to have that block, especially in a place like the West, which is a little more off on its own. So when you have that collective action and everybody agrees, then you don't have maybe one outlier state who just lets everybody go, and that might spoil the bunch for everybody else. So we'll see what results from that. I think that there has been really good communication as far as getting all that coordinated, as far as who is leading the way and who's pointing the way. I think there's still a little bit of that to be worked out. I know that Governor Newsom has become somewhat of a national figure on that stage, and he's really taking command.
He definitely has.
I would personally say that it's important that it's more than one state, actually, because I think that's the big problem with the United States not being able to, shake that curve and go downward, is because it's such a haphazard approach on the national scale.
And Brian, my only issue with the way that obviously Democratic state or with Democratic governors, 5 states, Democratic governors, forming a coalition, open up, that makes sense. But the entire, theme behind it was we're doing this based on science, not politics. Well, that is intrinsically based on politics, especially when you have Utah and Arizona that are actually boarding Nevada and they're actually boarding California, whereas Colorado is not. That is not being included. Do you think that all these states are going to come together and ask for federal funding together?
Yeah, I think they would have to at some point because the states themselves are just getting battered financially, and their budgets are really taking it because of the shortfalls in tax revenue. I think at a point they're going to have to do that, and so as this becomes more and more apparent, these states working together or maybe not working together as much are going to realize they need this strength in numbers, and they're going to need more of this coordination. So I think that's what we're going to have to see more of that as far as federal intervention in that regard.
Brian Ping joining us from KNX Radio down in Southern California. Brian, we're up against a hard break. We really appreciate you spending some time. You and yours stay safe throughout this just unprecedented time right now, and I'm absolutely positive we will talk to you again soon. Okay, my friend.
All right, Chris, JD, thanks. You guys stay safe as well.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks
we appreciate
a lot, Brian.
it. Yeah. Brian Ping, KNX Radio anchor, Southern California. Look, at California, it's an economy that is just monstrous, right, JD? So obviously,
it's largest in the world.
It's going to have a huge impact, not just in that state, but across the country.
But that state has been operating at a debt for quite some time.
No question.
It's been broke for a while.
It's the Vegas Take coming your way live on a Tuesday. Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp. On the other side, Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, had some comments regarding the new model, and he spoke on a podcast on Monday. We'll get into that and take your phone calls at 702-257-5396. We'll take a quick break. It is 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, Talk of Las Vegas.
Special report coronavirus update. President Trump says he won't help Democratic states because they're badly run. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo calls that self-defeating.
You go down this path of partisanship and politics, you will never pass a bill. And if you never pass legislation, you'll never get this economy back on its feet. So you go down this path of division.
I'll drop you off at the hospital on my way home.
Because we're all in the same boat.
Major U.S. automakers plan to reopen North American factories within 2 weeks. Alabama's public schools will continue to finish out the school year from home, but some students could be back on campuses as early as next month as part of a state school superintendent phased-in plan. The Dow up 1.5%. I'm Mike Morris.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Leonard Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Audible. Watch for debris reported I-15 southbound south of Sahara. A minor crash, Rainbow southbound south of Cheyenne, not blocking, but it is active, and watch for police presence in the area. A stalled vehicle on the Western Beltway 215 northbound Russell Road exit ramp now in the clearing stage. Audible is here for you. Listen to new releases in every genre. Discover why millions of people are listening on Audible every month. And find out how to get your first audiobook free at audible.com. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Please listen. This is important. Anyone can be affected by the prescription opioid crisis. If you think you've been hurt by Purdue or its prescription opioids like OxyContin, you may be entitled to compensation as part of Purdue's bankruptcy, but you have to file a claim. Claims may include overdose, death, substance use disorder, lost wages, and neonatal abstinence syndrome. Confidential claim can be filed by individuals, a legal guardian, by survivors or relatives of people who have died or are disabled. The deadline to file a claim is June 30th, 2020, or you will lose your right to file a claim. Sure. For more information, visit PurduePharmaClaims.com, or you can call toll-free 1-844-217-0912. That's 1-844-217-0912. Paid for by Prime Clerk, LLC.
1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Tuesday edition of the Vegas Take coming away live from my living room here in Spring Valley, Nevada. Chris Wynn along with J.D. Sharp coming your way. The phone number is 702-257-5396. After we get into the next topic, we want to get some of your phone calls, some of your takes about this, as well as anything when it comes to COVID-19 out there that you have going. But former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie yesterday joined the, basically tally of conservatives saying that it's crucial to restart the United States economy, even if that means losing thousands more lives to COVID-19 as a result. Now, we've had, of course, comments from other prominent lawmakers across the country that have had similar musings, right? Statements that have come under fire from a lot of people out there that are basically thinking in a different way. So in an interview with the Daily DC podcast, CNN's Dana Bash asked about the new internal government projections that nearly 3,000 people will be dying daily by June 1st, just under a month. He answered that with this, saying that people are, quote-unquote, going to have to swallow the idea of losing thousands of more lives as social distancing restrictions ease in several states. Another model often cited by the White House this week revised fatality projections to more than 134,000 by August 4th, almost double the previous estimate. Now, Christie claimed the economic devastation, and JD, you're gonna attest to this too, because this is something that you've talked about a lot. Claimed the economic devastation as caused by widespread stay-at-home measures due to the pandemic was equally sad. Of course, everybody wants to save every life they can, says Christie, but the question is, towards what end ultimately? Are there ways that we can thread the middle here to allow that there are going to be deaths, and there are going to be deaths no matter what. So this gets to the statement and the perception, right, that we're going to have an issue with COVID-19 anyway, right? We understand there's going to be fatalities, but there's this kind of measurement of the fatalities that you have from a global pandemic, right, that are, in essence, preventable, as opposed to, directly preventable, given that it's a very deadly virus, right? And then there's also the economic impact and what this is going to have as far from a mental health standpoint, as far as suicides in the country, and from an economic standpoint, right, as far as people's bank accounts or being, basically losing their livelihoods.
Joblessness.
And yes, and
homelessness.
And potential homelessness. So it's kind of a clash, though, right, JD?
Losing your health insurance.
Exactly.
I mean, you've got 32 million people right now that are unemployed across the United States as of right now. That number is going up every single day.
So it's not going to go down. But it's a balancing act.
Well, of course, yeah. You have to compromise between death toll and economic carnage. You have to find a nice way to and as well as maintaining morale while all this is going on, which is what President Trump has had to do from the jump. So I totally agree with what Chris Christie is saying, and I think he's saying it in a much softer tone, whereas Bill O'Reilly said, these people were on their last legs. Dan Crenshaw said, there's more important things than living. In my opinion, Chris Christie, and you can call him Beach Roy, you can call him whatever you want to call him, but Chris Christie.
Well, I don't call him that, but our esteemed host Brian Shapiro does,
is making a legitimate scientific approach to this, which is hey, this virus is spreading. I mean, we've been in quarantine for 60 days. And there's already 8,000 cases just this morning.
Well, you can say it's spreading.
There was 25,000 cases yesterday. I mean, this virus is still spreading. People are still dying. And do we really know how many people are dying? I've seen so many stories out there on Twitter and Facebook and on the internet that are saying, hey, my grandfather passed away and he was in hospice. But he probably had 3 weeks to a month to live.
Right.
And he contracted COVID. He died. But he was probably going to die regardless because he was in hospice, but they're calling it a COVID death. And then you've got the hospitals that are getting paid money to list COVID as a cause of death. They're getting paid money to use ventilators. They're getting paid a 20% premium in the case of in an uninsured patient to use ventilators to treat these people. But then you've got ventilators in New York City. They said they needed 50,000 ventilators. Well, they didn't. They needed about 8. But 90% of people that have been placed on those ventilators have died. So there's actually a strong chance, that using a ventilator is actually hurting the COVID patients that have the very, very compromised immune systems to start. So there's all these different things going on, and you really don't know how many deaths occurred from COVID, but you also don't know what the mortality rate is, because yes, we're testing a lot of people, and that's fine. And you look at California. California actually has tested 750,000 people. That's more than about 85% of the country is out there.
Well, JD, you can't make this case that testing is up to the levels. Absolutely.
But I'm saying, Chris, all they have is they have 56,000 positive cases. That's less than 8% positive testing rate.
I understand.
That means there's not a lot of asymptomatic cases out there.
You're going to use the numbers.
Of course, I'm going to.
It's not
because it makes sense. This isn't New Jersey. Chris,
we're talking about
Chris. In New Jersey, you've got 350,000 tested and 160,000 cases. That's
you can't use the number of cases as something that supports your argument.
Of course you can.
Terrible.
Of course you can.
You can't. The testing is way below what it should be.
No, if the places that are being tested have dense populations, then yes, you can use those numbers.
No, you can't.
Yes, of course you can.
They are severely
because in rural areas, the virus is not going to spread as fast. In spread out areas, the virus is not going to spread as fast. But if you're testing areas that have dense populations, then the chance is, and we've been in lockdown for X amount of days, then asymptomatic cases are going to get over their cases, but the virus is not going to spread to rural areas or spread out areas if you're testing the correct areas. So I would say that yes, testing 750,000 people in California is very, very important, and that's a lot of testing. Brian Pink said it wasn't a lot of testing. That is a lot of testing. We've done almost 8 million tests, which is 2.5% of the population in a month and a half. But I would argue that the more important test is the antibody test, because that test will tell you that someone who is like H.L. Greenberg, who was on the show yesterday, that test will tell you, it'll tell you that you had the virus, you recovered from the virus, which means that you did not die from the virus, and that means the mortality rate is dropped, which is the most important. Because right now the narrative is that 6 to 8% people that get this virus die of it, and that is just not the case. It's not even close to the case, and it's being used to put these numbers out like 2.2 million people are going to die of the virus, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if 20% of the country has this virus, like in New York, they're estimating that 25% of the country has had the virus and recovered from the virus. That doesn't include the active cases. So that's 3 million people out of almost 8 million people in New York have had the virus or have the virus.
We're getting a little bit off. Because you're talking about numbers that doesn't have anything to pertain to whether or not both sides of the ideology that Chris Christie's talking and what Chris Christie was bringing up regarding, the impact of the country. You're bringing up a lot of numbers that are right. Look, I get that you're a numbers guy, but we're trying to discuss.
You have to be a numbers person, and you have
Chris Christie is
and
saying
you have to apply reality with data. You can't just listen to what you're being told right now through various biased outlets for
you should
information.
be listening to people that are in the know and that are public health experts and have actual numbers and have actual facts, as opposed to individuals that may be skewing numbers or have an ideology or an agenda when it comes to whether or not whether or not they want to either open the company up or not open the company up.
Well, what Chris Christie is speaking to is that kind of moral dilemma.
Yeah, there's a moral choice
of how do you strike that balance between people's health, deaths, etc.
Right.
And of course, the very important need to get the economy going. And he was actually, we do have a piece of audio here, Chris and JD. He was asked by CNN's Dana Bash on this podcast, what would you say if you were president of the United States? What would your message be to the people?
The message is that the American people have gone through significant death before. We've gone through it in World War I. We've gone through it in World War II. We have gone through it, and we've survived it. We sacrificed those lives. We sent our young men during World War II over to Europe, out to the Pacific, knowing that many of them would not come home alive. And we decided to make that sacrifice because what we were standing up for was the American way of life. In the very same way now, we have to stand up for the American way of life.
That's Chris Christie, former New Jersey governor. Now, look,
he's comparing
to your point,
he's comparing
JD.
it to war, is what he's comparing.
Yes, he's comparing it to war.
Sacrifice that soldiers have made in wars.
And
that's what he was doing there.
it's not the same thing, but for the sake of argument, I want to get back to JD because JD, look, Chris Christie has also gone along the same lines you have when he talks about suggesting keeping the elderly, right, and those who have compromised immune systems at home and limiting large public gatherings like concerts, sporting events, also while letting those of us who are younger or healthier or not necessarily in the risk group to go back to work.
Right. Or limiting those events or asking those people to be conscious of the fact that they're high risk and to not attend those events while keeping them open for everybody else. I'm saying, yes, open up the economy, but make sure that, if you want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask. If you want to have PPE available, if you want to have hand sanitizer, because it's going to be everywhere. I mean, every single place you go to for the next 10 years is going to have hand sanitizer, right? I mean, hand sanitizer is going to be a major natural resource. That's going to be just necessary for all the places that, when you're out, you're going to see hand sanitizer. But yeah, ask those who are high risk to not go to these events because they know that they're high risk. But you can't be, and it's not even a matter of inconveniencing anymore. It started out as inconveniencing. Now it's literally ruining people's lives. And you have people that are not going to work, that are going to lose their jobs, or in some cases, they're getting paid so much money right now, not doing anything, that when that stops in 2 or 3 months,
that's not the majority of people. That's a small number of people. It's a small number, JD. In relation to the rest of the country,
they're going to be angry, and they're not going to want to go back to work.
Don't present it like it's some majority of the people that are out there that are able to just sit on their ass at home. Yes, there are some.
And the only reason
here in Las Vegas, it's a
hospitality
hospitality industry,
especially in the service industry in general.
And obviously, I have some familiarity with that. So there are people that do, but don't act like it's some type of majority or some type of.
Let me tell you a story.
Most
So
of the people
my father knows a guy who drives a truck,
right?
And he made $16.80 an hour before this. He is now making $1,790 a week.
Exactly. Yeah, there are situations like that. There absolutely are. By the way,
but that's almost a $50,000. That's almost a 2.5 yearly pay increase. That's unheard of, Chris. That just doesn't happen. You have people right now that are literally getting money that have applied for small business loans, and they're just getting money from the government just sent to them with they don't have to pay it back. There's no expectation for anything behind it. I mean, that's where things are at. There's such a
stimulus plan.
There's such mash. I mean, in Nevada, before the stations basically closed the Palms and other casinos,
right?
Nevada was a month behind on unemployment. We're going to be about 6 weeks behind moving forward, and you've got of roughly 200,000 people in the state that have still not gotten unemployment. There's stories all over. You look at
absolutely,
Steve,
yeah. There are issues with the unemployment in Nevada.
Twitter page. There's people that are saying, "Hey, I applied on March 17th for unemployment, and I still haven't even got a meeting set up yet." That's happening all over the country, not just in Nevada.
We're talking about Chris Christie. He went on a podcast, a DC podcast with Dana Bash, and he's pushing for America to reopen. And when asked about that, he said whether people will be able to live with the CDC projection of 3,000 deaths per day. He said, look, they're going to have to. The phone number is 702-257-5396. We want your phone calls, your thoughts regarding this. Look, to me, this is the core of the debate that's raging in America right now. Okay, and we talked about this ad nauseum across the board. There is the debate that of those of us, okay, who feel that we need to listen to public health officials, right? We need to listen to scientists, researchers, those who are familiar with infectious disease and what the impact is if we do open up society, right? And then there's the economic impact thought that's out there and the perspective that JD has taken and a number of people have taken. And people that are out there that are protesting in the United States are taking, saying, look, we have to get back to work. The impact is, in their opinion, they feel that it's going to be either just as bad or much worse if we keep America shut down and don't reopen in a timely fashion because of COVID-19. The phone number is 702-257-5396. Now, look, I mean, I get this whole opinion. And here's another thing, JD, that I don't necessarily understand. I don't understand why yourself and others who are protesting and who are out there saying we should open up society, you feel like you have some type of monopoly on us wanting to get back to work. That's not the case, okay? From my perception, right, and from my viewpoint, seeing, as someone who lives in the United States of America, who lives in Las Vegas, who's been here for 17 years, it's my impression that everybody, for the most part, wants to get back to work and wants society to open up. Now, yes, as you've pointed out, there are those people, and there are probably hundreds, possibly thousands, that have an option from a financial standpoint, given they're getting money from the government, whether it be from unemployment insurance or et cetera,
right,
that have the option. But for the most part, that's not sustainable.
Almost,
it's not sustainable. So why would we want that?
Almost every single entrepreneur without millions of dollars in the bank, who has their own small business, who has their own business, needs the economy to be back open.
Yep.
Obviously, if you're a state employee, you're getting paid for X amount of time. Obviously, if you were on welfare or food stamps or something along those lines, you're going to be covered no matter what. Did you know that during the Barack Obama administration, Chris, that 44 million Americans were on food stamps?
I don't know that. I didn't know that exact number. I don't really know why that's relevant. Given it's the Barack Obama administration, and we're now in the Trump administration.
That's 13% of the population was literally paid to not work.
Okay, yeah. So did we talk about that back then, though? That was some type of major issue in America.
Well, people like that, people like that don't have an issue with what's going on right now. Why would they? They're actually getting paid more money. They're getting stimulus checks.
Again, you're approaching this as if it's something.
Their life isn't negatively altered.
This is not true,
and that's a good amount of the country. Now that number,
not a good amount.
You're right. Since Trump became president, that number has dropped to about 9 million. So it's less than it was, but you still have people that have that ideology who are fine with being taken care of by the government, and they're totally okay with this taking place.
702-257-5396 is the phone number. Let's go out to the phone lines, and Malik joins us live here on the Vegas Tape. Malik, we really appreciate your time. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Malik?
Yeah, I'm doing great, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Time. Good. Well, first of all, JD, I wonder if you spoke to anybody who's receiving the stimulus check, first of all. I know you got a lot of opinions. But secondly, what I want to mention is that big bloated Chris Christie.
Yes.
I want him and JD to book a flight on JetBlue, just fly back and forth across the country, go down to Florida, get on the beaches, you know what I mean? Because you guys are so adamant about opening up the economy.
Right, I am, yeah.
Are you going out? Are you going into, JD, are you going out to the beach in California? Why don't you take a ride down there on the weekend? And the big fat bloated Chris Christie, why don't he take a ride over to New York and jump on the train during rush hour?
He probably actually. I'm not sure the trains are open right now, but I would gladly go to California. I have not left Las Vegas. I have not left Nevada in I think 3 or 4 months.
I know, but I want to know, JD, are you going to take a ride down there on the weekend? And the big fat bloated Chris Christie, why don't he take a ride over to New York and jump on the train during rush hour? He probably actually. I'm not sure the trains are open right now, but I would gladly go to California. I have not left Las Vegas. I have not left Nevada in I think 3 or 4 months. Of course you're not, because you're afraid.
I'm not afraid at all. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. I'm simply busy. I do go to the grocery store probably 3 times a week, though.
Okay, and you don't wear a mask, right?
I don't wear a mask, no.
There you go. Keep spreading it. But in the meantime, the big bloated Chris Christie is all talk. Like, he's never been in the military. He's talking about guys that sacrifice their lives in the military. The big, fat, bloated Chris
No, he's just thinking about all the other it's kind of like an iceberg. You've got COVID, and then you've got all these other things that are dropping below that you can't see under the surface that are going to be a result of COVID and unemployment and homelessness and joblessness and suicide and mental health issues. There's a number of things, and then eventually you're going to see a food supply problem where you'll go to the grocery store and you won't be able to buy meat if things don't go well in California. Since keep in mind in Nevada, we don't produce anything here. We produce nothing. We rely on California for all of our fruit and all of our vegetables. We rely, there's a couple of pork farmers, at least there were outside of Nevada, but we rely on the Midwest for all of our meat. When those supply chains go down, we don't have access to anything. And people they don't seem to realize that. And if we don't have any money coming in for tax revenue, then how are we paying for police officers? And how are we paying for fire department? And then you look at, okay, well, 70% of the city of Las Vegas is armed because we're an open carry state. Well, now you've got police officers that aren't being paid. You've got a homeless population that is rising, and everybody is armed. So looting increases. My car was literally stolen from my house 3 days ago. Thank God I found it back. I got it back, but I mean, situations like that are going to keep happening on a consistent basis because in Nevada, we don't produce anything. We're trying to start producing things, but we don't. And so you have to factor all that stuff in, and that's why Nevada, it's so important that I think gaming should be open in Nevada. I don't think gaming should have ever been shut down in Nevada.
No.
Because it's
come on, JD, you're killing me.
Listen, because it's so important.
Gaming?
Because it's so important.
It's a casino, JD.
The tax revenue is so important to the Nevada economy.
You can talk about that all
and
you
again,
want.
There's nothing we can do about it, Chris. I wish it wasn't the case. At this point, I think that maybe an income tax would actually make sense for the state of Nevada, and that a food tax would make sense for the state of Nevada because then we can, when something like this happens, we can at least sustain. But right now we can't because no revenue is coming in from anywhere. And there was a $30 million money that came from the shooting, and that money is apparently gone. And then Steve Sisolak spent $21 million of the gas tax money on a private plane for himself. So there's not a lot of money right now in Nevada to pay for anything.
702-257-5396 is the phone number. Let's go to Alan. Alan joins us here at the Vegas Take. Alan, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Alan?
Good morning. Look, first I want to let you guys know I come from a family full of doctors,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing that my brother had me do was not get tested for the COVID virus. He tested me to see what the state of my immune system was in. Now, look, guys, we're going to open up, and we're talking, and people are going to die. So I'm going to pass this on so that people understand there is something that they can do so that when they have to go back to work, they don't have to worry as much as they're worrying now. What is it? You need to stoke your immune system. How do you do that? Ask your doctor, whatever is in your diet, do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you do drugs? Any of those items. And biggie, do you eat a junk food diet? If you do any of those things, you are depleting your immune system. And if you get this bug, it's going to rake you over the coals. Now, nobody, I repeat, nobody in my family has gotten sick, including the doctors, and my cousin is an emergency room physician in New York. He's at ground zero, and he doesn't have it. So I'm just trying to let everybody know, if you're scared, call your doctor, have the doctor check your immune system. It's a blood test. If your immune system is rocking and rolling, then get out of the house and go back to work.
Yeah, and are you talking about the T-cell test?
Well, it sounds like you have a very healthy family. That's a good thing. That's what I got from most of that family, is that your family's very healthy. But
well, there's a reason for it. When you have a family full of doctors, the biggie is your immune system. So I'm trying to help everybody. They're scared, but there's something that you can do rather than have to worry about whether that guy that's walking up to you without a mask has the bug. If your immune system is stoked, it doesn't make any difference. You might contract the bug, but your body's going to fight it off. And you know that I'm telling the truth because you got people that have it and don't show any symptoms. There's the proof. Now, you people that are scared and your immune system is down, well, and you don't know whether it is or not, find out. And if your doctor says your immune system is down, then you stay home. If it's not, get out of the house. Tell Governor Sisolak, have a nice day, and I'm going to go back and live my life, because that's what you need to do.
Alan,
I'm passing it on.
Alan, we really appreciate the call. Thank you. Look, I mean, I kind of feel where your head's at right there as far as that's concerned, but there already is kind of a horse eyes out of the barn thing when it comes to Americans and what their overall health, and if they have pre-existing conditions or if they have some type, they have genetic issues that could be predisposed to something as far as a global pandemic like COVID-19. I get what you're saying. Look, in a perfect world, yeah, everybody should eat well, right? Everybody should exercise. Everybody should be taking care of themselves to the utmost level. But we all understand, in reality, that's not the case. We're here in the United States of America, where we have, an obesity problem. We have, issues with certain diseases, whether it be diabetes, whether it be others, that people have to deal with on a daily basis. 702-257-5396 is the phone number. Dave joins us now on the Vegas Take. Dave, we appreciate your call. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Is Dave there? Dave, I think, has left the building. 702-257-5396 is the phone number. Do we have anybody else on the line? Do we have Ron? Ron joins us here on the Vegas Take. Ron, what's going on?
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Chris. How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Doing well.
Not bad.
I kind of miss Brian already because he's the star of the show. But anyway, listen, I heard somebody laugh really hard.
You did.
Chris?
Yeah, because he's not. He hasn't. He's in the room, so he's very much appreciates the compliment, I'm sure.
Hey, it is about an immune system, a strong immune system, because if you actually, I haven't had the flu for 10 years, and that's God's grace for me. But what I now I didn't hear. When are we going to open here soon?
Well, no, the timeline as of right now, it is May 15th, right? And thanks for the call, by the way. We're up against a hard break. We appreciate it. The right now, as far as dates go, exact dates, the 15th, right, of May, there is the stay-at-home order is expected to expire. Now, there's been bantering about expectations it could be extended or not extended. And there is when we're supposed to be entering in, I believe, to phase one, right? The early part of phase one. Apparently, we're still at phase zero.
Yeah, so we're in phase zero now. We're supposed to start phase one on the 15th, and then every phase is going to take 3 weeks at least.
Exactly.
And then we're not going to open up, apparently, according to the plan, which wasn't much of a plan, but we're not going to open up the casinos.
Well, it's a phase
until phase 4, which by that logic would be the end of July.
Yes. So, look, it's very difficult to put exact dates on what it is as far as these phases that we're going to be going through and what exactly is going to be opening up. I would expect that Governor Sisolak and the powers that be over in Carson City are taking a look at how other states around the country are handling this. What are the what are the negatives? What are the positives?
Well, I'll tell you this,
and what has worked and what hasn't, right?
Well, Red Rock is taking reservations for May 22nd. So hopefully they're open by then. I think they should be. They're a local business. They don't rely on tourism. They'll get the traffic regardless. And again, there just is not a lot of virus in Las Vegas right now.
702-257-5396 is the phone number. Other side of the break, we're going to take your phone calls. We're going to talk about the extremist angle, right? And how everything's going down. Brian Shapiro coming back. He's going to help us out. It is a Tuesday here, live from Las Vegas.
Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk.
If you have room in your home to care for a homeless pet, the Animal Foundation needs your help now. Summer's almost here and the shelter is filling up fast. By becoming a foster parent for as little as a few weeks, you can help save the life of an animal waiting for their forever home. To learn more, visit animalfoundation.com or call 702-384-3333, extension 958.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Your home for Sean Hannity KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is responding to the president's claim that Democrats have mismanaged the states that they run.
And this is not any mismanagement by the states. If anything, the mismanagement has been on behalf of the federal government. And that's where the mismanagement has gone back decades.
The president says he'll let Dr. Anthony Fauci appear before the Republican-led Senate, but not the Democrat-led House.
The House has put on a committee, an oversight committee of Maxine Waters and Maloney and the same people, and it's just a setup. But Dr. Fauci will be testifying in front of the Senate, and he looks forward to doing that.
Trump is visiting an Arizona face mask plant today. He'll meet with Native American leaders as well. They say their tribes are not getting the coronavirus relief they need. I'm Mike Moss. Coronavirus death models are projecting deaths will reach 134,000 by August in the U.S., and new cases will grow by 200,000, with 3,000 daily deaths by June 1st. Dr. Anthony Fauci was asked what he thinks of those projections.
You're inviting rebound, and rebound is going to give you spikes, and spikes are going to give you the kinds of numbers. I don't know if those numbers, because I have skepticism about models, about they're only as good as the assumptions you put into them, but they're not completely misleading. They're telling you something that's a reality.
Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop says you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
The reality is that asking people to pretend as if they're going to stay in their houses and shelter in place indefinitely is not realistic. So you're better off putting some sort of controls and parameters in place where people can safely go out and actually do things that they're going to be doing anyway.
The Dow is up 1.5%. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need. A crash reported Torrey Pines, north of Alta, still active. Police with the scene. Avoid local delays. You could take an alternate like Rainbow or Jones Boulevard instead. And also, debris cleanup continues I-15 northbound approaching Sahara. This was blocking the HOV. Road crews are on scene. Please approach with caution. No delays to report 95 east side, west side inbound to the Spaghetti Bowl. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your coverage so you only pay for what you need. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
V is for victory, except on Saturdays when V is for veterans. That's Veterans Talk, the Forgotten Promise. Join us every Saturday from noon to 1.
Veterans Talk every Saturday at noon on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN. It's open enrollment season, and MediShare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google MediShare and see if it's a fit for you. MediShare, healthcare you can believe in.
Hey, it's Sean Hannity here, and I know the business climate has changed dramatically, but if you need to sell your home, don't believe the myth that homes aren't selling. Joining me now is a true expert at selling homes, Rick Brinkus of Keller Williams Realty, the marketplace. So what's your advice on selling a home right now?
Sean, that's a great question. So number one, I would say trust an expert as to what's going on with the market. The exciting news is that we have a plan in place to help both buyers and sellers sell in a market like this.
So what does that mean for sellers?
Well, for home sellers, we've identified and developed a program called our multiple offer program. We're working with a number of different active buyers in the market and some hedge funds that are aggressively buying property right now in the Las Vegas Valley. We work with you to get the home ready so that we can get multiple offers many times in just a couple of days. So please give me a phone call so we can find out what would be best for you.
All right, thanks so much. Don't trust your home to just anyone. Call the Brinkus team today at 702-456-5959, online at thebrinkesteam.com.
License number BS 16186.
Sometimes you hear an idea or learn about a company and say, finally, it's about time. That's what I said when I met the team at Homey. With Homey, you get a local real estate expert and everything you expect with a traditional agent. Everything except those high fees and commissions. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average. Finally, You can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Check out homie.com or just text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Homies got your back.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete DeRuta. For more than 25 years, Coach Pete has been helping people just like you plan for retirement. Join Coach Pete every week as he discusses topics like why your retirement plan should also be an income plan and how to make sure you're getting the most out of your 401k.
Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday afternoon at 2 on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDAWN.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh, yeah, welcome back. It's the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, C-Win, doing a good job first hour. I think I snorted too many lines of cocaine this morning. You know, I'm paying for it now. No, in all due seriousness.
No, you know what it is, Brian?
A little bit under the weather.
You are just down in the dumps about dropping that Lions game last night. That is why, right? You were just so distraught with sorrow that you couldn't jump in for the first time.
Well, as much as I would love to talk about Korean professional baseball for the next 25 minutes, we do have more important things to talk about. Particularly, you know, we've been doing it a lot on this show, talking about these protests. Not necessarily as much in Las Vegas as other parts of the country, even though there were some people carrying their, AR-15s, walking around in these protests looking like terrorists. But it's happening all across the country. Look, Sean Hannity, who does a show, obviously 3 hours a day here at KDWN, nationally syndicated. He's on Fox News. If Sean Hannity is opposed to something, they don't get more right than him, folks. Then something's probably wrong. And I give Sean Hannity credit. I don't normally agree with him on about 99.9% of what he talks about. But even Sean Hannity is going after some of these militia members who I think are complete buffoons. Have a listen to what Sean Hannity said on his show last night.
No one is a bigger defender of the Second Amendment than yours truly. Everyone has the right to protest, protect themselves, and try to get the country open. This, with the militia look here and these long guns, no. Show of force is dangerous. That puts our police at risk. And by the way, your message will never be heard, whoever you people are. No one should be attempting to intimidate officials with a show of force. And God forbid something happens, then they're going to go after all of us law-abiding Second Amendment people. I had a carry permit my whole life.
Well, guess what, guys? That's exactly what happened in Carson City, in our own state, not just Michigan. A bunch of idiots decided to think that they could just march into Governor Sisolak's house, whether it's public or private property. It's wrong. It's criminal, and these people should be arrested. And if any of you people are listening now, you're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to humanity. You're no tough guy. That's what's going on in some of these protests. And it's an embarrassment, JD, is it not?
I'm sorry, what?
All right, we'll take some phone calls. 702
Brian,
let me just give the number.
Honestly, it's an open carry state. They have every right to do that, but I don't agree with using those guns as a way of intimidation. But that being said, it is an open carry state, so I don't have an issue with them doing that.
702.
If it was an open carry state, it would be a different story, Brian.
All right. Next time, listen. 702-257-5396. The number to call, 257-5396, if you want to be a part of the program. We're talking about these protests throughout the country, in Nevada, in Carson City. How could you be okay with that? How could you be okay with use of force? It's not an issue of whether you have the right to carry or not. That's not what I said. What I'm talking about is the use of force and what Sean Hannity said on his own show last night. This has nothing to do with whether you have the right to carry or not.
I think he was talking about Michigan, Brian, not Nevada.
Okay, well, the same thing happened in Nevada.
No, it didn't. In Michigan, they actually went.
What do you mean?
They actually went inside the Capitol with weapons. That did not take place in Nevada.
And what did they do in Nevada?
They protested and they had weapons on them, but they did not go inside the state capitol.
They attempted to break through.
No, they didn't.
They didn't?
They did not attempt to break through, but they did get on his lawn. And I don't believe I don't believe those that had weapons actually got onto his lawn in Carson City.
They did, number one, and number two, they were doing something very similar to what they were doing in Michigan, and that is attempting to get into an area where you're not allowed to. They're intimidating people. They're doing the same thing they did in Michigan to an extent, and it's wrong. This isn't about the right to carry. It's not what it's about.
I think what Sean Hannity was referring to, of course, was in Michigan where you had those people dressed like militia members with their AR-15 standing in front of offices, right, of lawmakers there in Michigan, basically, for the purpose of intimidation, right, and not giving those people the ability to do their jobs. That's what we're talking about, because it's important, right, Brian, to make the distinction between those type of people, okay, and the people like who we had on the show yesterday in Duncan, right, who went down to the protest here in Nevada and just, they just practiced their Second Amendment rights and First Amendment rights by that form also. And there's a big difference between what happened with those people, with Duncan and his group, right, in Las Vegas on Saturday, and the individuals who are standing in front of people's offices who need to actually go and do things that are important
and Chris,
that are trying
is
to work.
Michigan an open carry state?
Yes, but I'm trying to make the distinction. Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to make the distinction that there are two different types.
I hear you.
What you addressed, obviously in the open, but is not the same as what Duncan, who we had on our guest on yesterday, what he was doing. It's
all right. Let me be very clear. Yeah. JD, hopefully you can listen to me when I'm saying here.
Well, it was just so ridiculous I couldn't. But
Okay.
I'm now listening.
Okay, good.
You have my attention.
Let me be very clear. These idiots that are protesting, that have half a brain, that bring their Trump signs, that say quarantine hoax, that bring their guns, that think they're tough guys with their guns, that dress like G.I. Joe, that think what they're going to do is going to make a difference and the governor's going to change his mind, are the biggest dummies I've ever heard of in my
Then
life.
you're calling me a huge dummy.
Well, I don't know. Did you try to break into Governor Sisolak's home? I don't know. You tell me.
You just said protesters in general.
Yeah, and then I added.
You said protesters in general.
The guy we had on yesterday, right?
Now you're making a blanket statement for anyone that protests opening the economy is the biggest dummy you've ever had in your entire life. And since I started that protest, or since I'm a part of that protest, then you would be insulting me directly.
Again, you didn't listen to me.
I did listen.
So I'll repeat myself again. I didn't just say those protesters. I think I said a few things after that. You're not listening to me again. You want me to repeat myself again?
I'm listening to you intently, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah,
those people that bring their weapons, those people that look like G.I. Joe, those people that tried to break into Sisolak's office, those people that bring all their Trump paraphernalia, those are the idiots that I'm talking about. You're allowed to protest, but these people have half a brain, and they're some of the trashiest people in this country, period. They really are, in my opinion. They are pure trash, and I am really sad that these people think that they represent people like me, because I'll tell you what, my friend, they don't. They don't. Number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's start off with Sylvia. Sylvia, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi. I was chuckling as I listened to you because I agree with you 100%. And was those protesters, was legally anything ever done about them?
I don't think anybody was arrested. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I don't think, particularly in Michigan or Carson City, anybody got the cuffs handed on. But I think if you're dumb enough to think that with your gun, your militia, that you're going to try to break in to the governor's home because you think it's your First Amendment right or Second Amendment right, then again, you have half a brain, and those are the type of people that I'm talking about when I say just throw them in prison, arrest them. You're breaking the law. Yeah.
Let me throw something else at you. If all those protesters were black or brown,
that's a good point. Yep.
Furious.
Yep. You know what? You bring up a very good point, Sylvia. Yeah.
Throw them in jail. Who do they think they are?
Sylvia, you're not the first person to say that, and I completely agree with you. And I am not African American. But listen, when you look at what just took place in Michigan, if those were all African Americans and they had guns and they were dressed exactly. Yeah, well, it's a double standard. There's that double standard. You're right.
Let me tell you something else. I hate guns. I'm not against guns at all. I take my son shooting. Me personally, I don't
Right.
find it. I have no pleasure, and I've gone shooting before. That's not my thing.
Right.
But for the first time in my life, I am considering not only getting a gun,
Yeah.
but an assault rifle because of idiots that went to Carson City
Yeah.
and are doing the idiocy that they're doing.
I would actually worry. I would worry more about people.
The whole coronavirus thing is over. That's on the top of my list as well as food storage.
I would worry about people that are actually losing their jobs in Las Vegas.
Those words are even coming out of my mouth.
Let me be clear on this one. You bring up a good point, and by the way, I appreciate your phone call. In most states, if you walk into a home uninvited with a gun, I have a right to shoot you. And if they are dumb enough to go into Steve Sisolak's office with a weapon, uninvited, barging into his home, I would have no problem with that. 702-257.
First off, Brian, that home that he lives in is public property, and
You are not allowed to go into that house uninvited.
They were on.
You can't just walk in there, though, JD.
They weren't inside. They were on his yard. They were in his yard. They were on his lawn.
No, but you're making the case
and
that
SWAT was
you're trying to make the
called
case
out.
right now that they can walk into his office.
I'm just saying it's not private property.
You can't.
I don't care,
that doesn't
JD,
matter,
that's
though, yeah.
completely academic. It could be public or private property. You cannot go into his home, and you cannot walk into his office whenever you please. And if you're going to walk in there with a gun, in some states you could shoot somebody for doing that. 702-257-5396.
I'm in Nevada, and I looked at what was going on in Michigan, and I was, oh, by the way, even though I have a CCW, I open carry outside. More of it is a deterrent than I don't really want to have to pull it. So if you see it, generally people are going to back off. But what these guys are doing in Michigan is totally wrong.
And in Nevada, yeah.
They're not.
You're right.
I support them.
Yeah.
But intimidating people like that.
Yeah.
It's not about It's not about Second Amendment rights. It's not about carry. It's about going back to work because of the
Sure.
because of the virus.
Sure.
Yeah, it's all about reopening Nevada. It's not a Trump thing. It's not a Second Amendment thing. It's not even a First Amendment thing. But I will argue this. I agree that using weapons like that as intimidation is not effective. But after what happened in Huntington Beach, where those 10,000 people were on the beach protesting in arguably the wealthiest county in the United States, Gavin Newsom did come out 2 days later and say, "Okay, we're in phase 2 starting on Friday." That did take place. So I do think that protesting under circumstances like that is effective.
Well, you saying that these, let me just add something. Stay on the line here for a second. JD, you saying that these protests are not a Trump thing is like me saying the porn awards isn't about sex.
I'm saying that they should not be a Trump thing. It should be about it should be reopening the economy, reopening.
Okay.
It's not. It's why whether you support Biden or Trump or Sanders or you're a Democrat or a Republican,
That shouldn't have anything
that
to do
should
with it.
make zero difference.
I
Or
agree.
whether you're white or African American or Hispanic, that should make zero difference whatsoever.
There
It
are
should
no
be about
African-Americans
wanting.
at these
It should be
rallies.
about wanting to open up the Nevada economy.
Then what would you say to all the protesters across the country that are in their Trump paraphernalia? I would say about 90% of them. What would you say to them?
I would
JD?
say I don't agree with it. It's very simple. I would say that you're taking a time of crisis to become opportunistic about your political affiliation, and to me that is wrong.
No, I agree with you. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I mean, I wear my Trump hat 99% of the time.
Right.
But
Right.
that's not. If that intimidates somebody, I'm sorry. I don't want to do it to intimidate, and I probably wouldn't
Right.
go to the DNC with my Trump hat on.
Right,
That
right.
would just cause controversy.
I agree. You're absolutely right.
Well, and there are rallies. I mean, there was rally after rally after rally that Trump held, where you can go to those rallies and you can do what you want to do, and you can show your support in other ways. But if you're trying to open up the economy for the sake of those who are unemployed and for the sake of the future of the economy, like it is in Las Vegas, which I think is in absolute peril right now, then yes, you need to. If you really want to get respect from not only people that you're with, but also people that aren't involved in your protest, you have to be honest about what you're protesting, which in this case needs to be reopening the economy.
So the number to call is 702-257-5396. Here's what I would say. There's nobody more to the right that supports the president and wears the Donald Trump knee pads more than Sean Hannity. But what does it say about our president of the United States? That it's Sean Hannity that has to show a little bit of leadership. And it's Sean Hannity that has to go on his show and go after these militia groups. But yet the president of the United States, in a press conference almost on a daily basis, can't speak to the media and say, if you're one of those people with guns that decided that you wanted to try to break into, this building or that building, why is it that the president of the United States can't do that? And of all people, it was Sean Hannity yesterday that did that. I have the answer for you. Because Donald Trump is a clown. Because Donald Trump doesn't have the wherewithal. He makes it all about himself. You know what? These people make Donald Trump look good because he wants to put pressure on these Democratic governors to fit his own agenda because he wants to win re-election.
And I would argue that the Democratic governors want to put pressure on the federal government so that the economies can open up.
So if that's the case, where are all these Democratic protests?
Why would they
trying
protest?
to put pressure on the government?
They're exactly where they want to be. They don't need to protest anything. Why would they?
Hold on a second.
Brian, no.
I have a big. Give me 30 seconds. Here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You don't know first, then I'll finish mine.
First of all, well, I'm torturing you for not listening to me the first 2 minutes of the segment.
Brian, I listened to you intently.
Okay.
All
right. Well, some people can text and listen. I'm not able to do that.
Okay.
So you're a better man than me.
My phone actually just died, which I'm not happy about.
Well, I know you have some brilliant people that text you during the show, so I don't want to take you away from that.
Geniuses.
But yes. But listen, the idea that you think that Democrats want to be put in this situation, that Democrats want small businesses to suffer, that people in office that happen to have a D next to their name want people to suffer. They want 60,000 plus people dead. They want the economy to go down the toilet is absurd. And I'm tired of Republicans throwing that out there because it's simply not true. Now, are there a few radicals out there? Perhaps. But the majority of Democrats, just like you, JD, they want to go back to work. They want the economy to rebound. They don't want to be in this situation.
You really think that if someone that's been on food stamps or been on welfare for X amount of years has been in the exact position they've been in, they're in the same position now, but they're actually getting more money from the government to not go to work? You think they want to go back to work? Brian, you have literally.
What does that have to do with what I just said?
I'm just saying that you're saying the majority. I mean, Brian,
yes,
there are a lot of Democrats who have lived off the government for quite some time. Now you have people that are actually getting paid more to not go to work.
There are a lot of Democrats that have living off the government.
Yes, there are a lot.
There's Republicans that are on food stamps too.
There's significantly more Democrats than Republicans on food stamps.
So what is your point? You're saying that Democrats want to be in this situation? I don't understand what that has to do with what we just said.
Say for example, Steve Sisolak made a statement in the Las Vegas Sun yesterday. He said Nevadans are going to be without, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Rabbit hole. And that's going down a rabbit hole.
No, we're not, and that's just the way it's going to be.
You just made
Steve Sisolak has decreased our budget for the next 2 years.
What does that have to do with what you just said?
Let me finish. By 4 to 20%, because everything right now in Las Vegas is basically going the exact opposite direction. The problem with that is Steve Sisolak has control over what is open and what isn't because the caseload isn't here to justify 400,000 being out of work and everything being shut down.
But that has literally zero to do with what we just talked about.
That's an example of a Democratic governor who can make the decision.
Like his policy.
No, it has nothing to do with his policy at all. Has nothing to do with his policy.
So Sisolak
I don't like his.
It's not making any sense.
Steve Sisolak has put us in this spot. He could have opened us up a month ago. Yes, absolutely.
He brought us the coronavirus.
No, I'm not saying he brought us the coronavirus.
What would you change?
I am Chris. Why are you teaming up on me here?
No, I'm
I thought that was not the theme of this show.
Because you guys always want
okay, if that's the theme of the show, that's fine. That's fine.
No, but you want to bring up
we can go. That's fine. I'm cool with that. We can go 2-on-1 again. That's cool.
What would you suggest that
let's do it every single day for the next 2 weeks.
I don't understand why.
I'm excited for it.
Well, there's no teaming up here.
You just went on a 5-minute rant. Why
I mean, I'm.
You're
hold on, Chris. Hang on.
You're not getting short.
Chris, hang on.
You just went on a 5-minute rant. I'm just pointing out that look. You're talking about what Steve Sisolak has done, and has not done. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but 6 weeks ago we were in the midst of a Donald Trump administration that had a roaring economy.
All right, we got to get back to the phone calls, guys.
You got to
get back to the phone calls. All right, you made a statement about how you made a statement about how you think Democrats want to be in this spot. Then you went on a diatribe about Governor Sisolak. So now I'm going to get to the phone calls.
Giving you an example of how he could avoid us being in as bad of a spot that we are in right now. By opening up the local economy and choosing not to. Right. I think he's doing it for political purposes.
Okay. We're talking about a governor. You disagree with this policy. There's a fine line between that and saying that Democrats want people to die and want people to be suffering. That is a completely different conversation.
I never said that Democrats wanted people to die.
You did say that Democrats.
I never once said that. I would never make a statement like that.
What you did say was that you think Democrats want us to be in this position. This position equals a lot of people dying and a lot of small businesses dying.
And so does 32 million people being unemployed. In fact, the numbers are going to be significantly higher.
That's why
significantly higher than the actual death toll. And again, we don't know what the death toll really is because keep in mind, hospitals are getting paid to list COVID as a cause of death.
I can't have a conversation with you.
No, we don't know.
You're
all over the place.
And you are all over.
You're going
you
from
just
one
made a
topic,
statement.
You're talking about Democrats
hold on.
and others.
I got you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, guys
I'm going to go back to the
all
phone
over the place
calls.
right
When you
now.
make a statement that you think the majority of Democrats want to be put in this position, and then I ask you specific questions, and I make a specific, and then you talk about Sisolak, and then you're talking about numbers, and then if you make a statement like that, own it.
And why did you say that, Brian? Why did I make this statement based on what you said about Donald Trump? Because you said that Donald Trump is purposely going out of his way to avoid certain things to ensure that he wins the 2020 election. So I said I think the exact opposite.
I don't think he's going out of his way. I did not say that. No, you're not listening again for the third time this segment. What I did say is that Donald Trump, when he sees these, he's the one who tweeted out, liberate Michigan and all these other states. So what I did say was Sean Hannity showed a little bit of leadership as a TV person, and he called those people out that are complete nimrods, okay? And he's right. Sean Hannity's 100% right. What I did say is Donald Trump is showing no leadership. What he needs to do is say the exact same things that Sean Hannity said and show some leadership as the president of the United States. And I said the reason why he's not doing that, because he likes the fact of what's going on. He likes the fact that these militia members are going in there. Why? Because he thinks it's a good thing and it's putting pressure on the Democratic governors.
And I would argue that the Democratic governors like the fact that the economy is terrible because they think that it makes Donald Trump's chances of winning the 2020 election a lot lower.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to Charlie. Charlie, you're next up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
What's up, Charlie?
Well, let me first say I approve of the being able to protest. I do not approve of the guys that show up with guns and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But let me tell you, I believe part of the problem here in Nevada is that the governor hasn't been upfront with us, and the numbers. And so while we know how many have contacted the COVID, we don't know who they are, where they got it. We don't know how many of them are.
When you say that the governor, with all due respect, sir, when you say that the governor is not being upfront with us, you're basically saying he's lying. So what has he done? What has he done to lie?
He hasn't, but he hasn't told us. He hasn't told us what's inside the numbers. Do you know how many of them came from?
What do you mean? We have the numbers. We have the numbers of how many people. We have the numbers of how many people were infected. We have the numbers of how many people have died. I don't understand what you mean by numbers. What do you mean, sir?
I want to know how many came from the workforce, the construction site.
First of all, it is sir, with all due respect, sir, you're not making any sense. Listen, no, I'm not going to let you finish because you said something that's ignorant.
Contact tracing.
It is impossible to pinpoint exactly where everybody in this state got the virus from. It could have been from a gas station. It could have been from a protest. It could have been from playing a slot machine when gaming was open. It is impossible. A week or two, you go through, where were you in the last 2 weeks? And you write down every single spot you were at where you could have contracted the virus. To say that he's not being upfront is an idiotic statement, sir, and it makes absolutely no sense. It is completely impossible unless somebody has never gone out of their home and they went once to the supermarket or once to a place in that time frame. It doesn't make any sense. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I have criticized OAN because I think it is the Trump network. We have a reporter that has been working for OAN for quite some time. His name is Josh Posobiec. And Jack, I apologize. And my producer's handwriting is atrocious. It's my fault. But it's my fault. I'll take responsibility. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by him and get his thoughts on is it okay to compare the coronavirus to abortion in a press conference. See if he'll defend that. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. We're listening to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, A 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-860-6565. That's 800-860-6565. 800-860-6565. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985.
Special report coronavirus update. It's not just your local supermarket that's having a hard time getting enough meat. Correspondent Jim Roop reports.
It's a temporary shortage brought on by the pandemic. Wendy's says it's working hard to remedy the situation and for the time being is pushing the chicken. Not all places are affected. Wendy's in Ohio, Michigan, Tennessee, New York are among the states feeling the beef pinch. Wendy's touts its use of fresh beef, not flash frozen, which may be why McDonald's says it's not having a meat crunch. Shake Shack says beef prices are higher. Burger King has not yet weighed in.
President Trump says Democrat-run states don't deserve federal help. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says the president's dividing the nation.
The president is looking at a scenario where he either is reasonable and bridges the gap, or they will not pass any legislation. And then he will have failed. And this nation will suffer.
I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Leonard Road Traffic Studio.
A crash reported on Rainbow Boulevard north of Cheyenne Avenue. Injury sustained. Police and fire were the scene. Avoid delays. Take an alternate like Tenaya Way or Torrey Pines instead. And also a minor crash, Torrey Pines at Hyde Avenue. There was debris on I-15 northbound approaching Sahara in the HOV. Looks like that's now in the final clearing stage. And nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your coverage so you only pay for what you need. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Whether you enjoy classical, rock, or heavy metal, we all march to the beat of our own drummer or guitarist. That's why Views also offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Sleeping with CPAP can mean waking and hearing.
Hun, there's a ring around your face.
Or,
Dad, what's up with your face?
if you stopped wearing CPAP because of marks and rashes, now there's Inspire. Inspire is a sleep apnea treatment that works inside your body with just the click of a remote. That's right, a button. If you're struggling with CPAP, visit InspireSleep.com. Inspire. Sleep apnea innovation. No mask, no hose, just sleep.
Talk to your doctor to see if Inspire is right for you. Review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Tuesday. So as you know, some of these Donald Trump coronavirus press conferences have certainly been a spectacle. There's no question about that. And, people have attacked reporters thinking that they're going after the president. And on the other side of things, people have gone after some networks for siding with the president and maybe kissing his ass, for lack of a better term. But I think it goes both ways, and I think it's a fair conversation to have. The guy we have with us on the line right now, he works for the network OAN. His name is Jack Posobiec. And, Jack, I appreciate you taking some time to join us, my friend. How are you?
Hey, appreciate being on. Good to be here.
Sure. All right. So I guess the first question is, give me a little bit of background on OAN. How long have you guys been around for? And just give me a little bit of history on your network and how long you've been there, if you can.
Yeah, sure. So One American News has been around for about 5 years. So obviously longer than the Trump era. It certainly predated that. And has existed primarily based out of San Diego, but then we've got offices on the East Coast as well here in Washington. That's where I'm out of. And then it's sort of positioned as definitely conservative in terms of the viewpoint of the opinions, but it's actually for about 21 hours of the day, just straight hard news, no panels, old school style with news packages and really not a lot of opinion or editorializing.
Gotcha. Now, listen, there are some people out there that, support certain conspiracy theories. It happens on the left. It happens on the right. Certainly, I'm not trying to single you out on that. But is it true that you supported the Pizzagate Hillary Clinton conspiracy theory? And are you on the record of saying, no, I was wrong? I should not have supported that?
Yeah, no, that's actually something that Megyn Kelly made up as a smear for me. What she did was she took my video and played it with the audio off and put words in my mouth after she got sort of left from Fox and then canned from NBC for lack of talent. And really, that's not something that I've ever believed in, and regardless of what Megyn Kelly might tell you.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad to hear that. And listen, like I said, there's a lot of reporters on the left that are going after conspiracy theories as well. So, but I'm glad to hear you say that.
Funny enough, I'm actually if anything, my role is usually to sort of flatten the curve on those types of things. Like, for example, I've exposed the QAnon hoax. I've gone after the Russiagate collusion truthers, and I'm probably one of the only guys in America that thinks that Jeffrey Epstein did kill himself.
Sure, you know what, and I appreciate that, and I certainly don't want you to speak for others. And if you can have your opinion, I would appreciate that. But I know that. Listen, like I said, CNN, MSNBC. Sure, there are times where they ask questions that may be a little bit over the top, no question. But one of your reporters in the White House press briefing room tried to make a comparison between the coronavirus to abortion. And when I heard that question, I was like, what does abortion have to do with the coronavirus? Well, as a veteran like yourself who has been doing this for a long time, and as you said, even keel, what do you think of that somebody at ONN would ask a question like that?
Well, again, I can't speak to, that person's thoughts or that person's intentions, but I do know that there's a lot of viewers at One American News. There's certainly a lot of conservatives that watch us and that do skew towards the pro-life demographic. And so I think that talking about pro-life issues and interviewing pro-life candidates as well as organizations is a big part of what we do.
Yeah, and listen, I have no problem with that. But the only reason why I'm asking the question is, listen, if you were doing it outside of the White House or outside of a coronavirus press conference, I wouldn't be asking you that question. And like I said, I know you didn't ask that question, but can you understand at least why some people might have a problem during a coronavirus press conference about bringing up abortion?
Yeah, I don't know if I personally in that situation would have answered the question or asked the question that way. For me, obviously, and funny enough, I was actually one of the early people to call for a travel ban on China for this to stop those flights from shutting down. My background is actually in China studies. I'm a Mandarin linguist. I focused on China for the intelligence community. And when I saw what was coming out of Wuhan and when I saw what China was doing, and it's really a system blinking red kind of moment because the Chinese government doesn't usually admit fault, right?
Right. No, listen, we are
more interested in reputation and faith.
Yeah.
And so I knew that if they were dealing with something that was that contagious and was that big of a problem, then that thing was going to be spreading really fast.
Listen, Jack, we are on the same page when it comes to that, 150%. I wanted to ask you a little bit about China. Donald Trump says that he doesn't think this was done intentionally, but that the government hid it under the rug, which obviously they did, right? So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What do you think happened out there? Do you think this was done on purpose based on what we know? Or do you agree with the president that this was something accidental and then they tried to cover it up and because of that, lives were lost across the world?
Yeah, I think regardless of whether or not this was something that I guess the question is really the lab, right? Did this leak out of the lab through an accident or did it just sort of mutate naturally and arise from the wet market? The jury is still out on that, right? I don't have any specific evidence on one way or the other on that. But what I can say is that I don't think there's evidence of this being a deliberate attack or a deliberate spread. Because remember, as I just talked about, they were the ones who were hit with this thing first. So they were the ones who lost billions of dollars in an economic turndown. They lost literally untold amounts of lives because we don't know. We can't trust their numbers. They were the ones who had to shut down their cities and take on that massive reputational damage. And so to those people that might believe this was something deliberate, I would ask, what kind of person would put themselves through that?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the thought process of the lab being the only biosafety level 4 lab in the entire 1.3 billion person country of China, and it just showing up at that wet market a mile away, that seems very coincidental to me. So Germany actually presented China with a $150 billion bill, and Trump made a statement after that said, our bill will be a lot larger than that. Where do you think, what kind of a number do you think that the United States will ask for in financial reparations from China when it's all said and done?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it really depends on what they're going to look at it in terms of just the lost trade or in terms as well as the lives we've lost, the cultural capital we've lost in terms of our elders and those that have been at risk in terms of this. And so I don't have any numbers specifically that I've heard from the White House, but what I have heard is that they're looking at all options. Peter Navarro's in there talking about tariffs every day, and there are really people talking about manufacturing. And so bottom line, I don't personally think that China is actually going to be, cutting checks for us. But what I think that will happen is that a lot of companies are going to be looking at their supply chains now and saying, you know what, we need to diversify. We can't have all of our eggs in one basket. We need to bring stuff back to America, which is, of course, part of the president's agenda. That's always been part of his agenda. And I think there's also a lot of companies that are looking at places like Vietnam, like India, and whether or not they might be better players. So at least you have more of a diversification in terms of your decentralization, in terms of your supply chain.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Jack Posobiec, OAN, nice enough to take some time to join us today. So Jack, I've gotten into certain, listen, I'm not a Trump guy, and I'm not a journalist. I'm an opinionated talk show host, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big Trump supporter for a lot of different reasons. We don't need to go into that. But, I get into debates. Yeah, absolutely. I get into some debates with some people on the right sometime, and sometimes you get some conspiracy theorists out there. So OAN's chief White House correspondent endorsed what I believe to be a conspiracy theory that Anthony Fauci not just funded the creation of the coronavirus, but to destroy the Trump economy. And again, I'm not trying to get you to speak for them, but you don't strike me as a guy that would believe that. Am I wrong?
Well, we do know that Fauci and through the NIH had essentially a grant program that was going on that was funding research around the world in terms of epidemiological research. So looking at places where different viruses might arise. Obviously, traditionally, China has been a source of those. And so it turns out that one of the, I think, sub-grantees is the word for it, ended up actually being that lab. So I don't know if it fits all together as Fauci directly donates to them. However, that it's a cold hard fact that that lab was funded as part of this program. And I would turn around and say, look, if they have a fiduciary responsibility to the United States, then we should absolutely be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, let us in, let us see what our money was going towards.
Yeah, and again, I agree with you. I don't have a problem with that. Well, I guess where I have the problem is making a correlation without enough evidence to say that Anthony Fauci funded the creation of the coronavirus to destroy the Trump economy. Again, we're not talking about an intern for OAN. We're not talking about somebody that, just got their foot in the door. We're talking about the OAN chief White House correspondent. I believe if something like that was done from, say, Jim Acosta, you guys would be all over that because you'd say, it's irresponsible journalism. You don't have enough proof. I don't disagree with, by the way, with what you just said. But you understand where I'm kind of going with this, Jack? I think it's very dangerous in any form of media, the left or the right, to take it to that stretch and basically say that Anthony Fauci is a murderer. Because, really, that's what your OAN chief White House correspondent is endorsing.
And I completely understand your position.
Okay, fair enough. We'll move on. Have you been in any of those coronavirus press briefings yourself?
No, not me personally.
Are you the type of guy that where you want to be there? Because I'll be honest with you, I would like to hear you ask some questions. You sound like a pretty smart guy, and I appreciate your perspective and answering these questions. Is that something that you've ever wanted to do, or you kind of want to stay out of there?
I'm so happy with what I do right now. I do have communications with the White House. A lot of it is more on the behind-the-scenes level. More of it is on the working level.
Sure.
And I'm able to get stories and get scoops out that in ways that don't require necessarily people to go on the record, people to be named. I can get ahead of the curve on a lot of different things. And so I know that there's this perception that One American News is too close to the White House. And we certainly are close to the White House, no question about that.
Right.
But I would also point out that does give us an earlier read on a lot of these things than a lot of other people.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about, in general, some other networks out there. Donald Trump likes to call certain members of the media, certain networks, fake news. Do you agree with his position on that? And do you agree with the way he holds some of these press conferences in attacking reporters, attacking their credibility? For example, if somebody, asked him a question about testing, or if some, a lot of Republicans like to call it gotcha questions. And I'm sure there's a few examples out there where you could make that claim. But do you think as a whole, the media is the enemy of the people? And do you agree with the way Donald Trump handles some of these questions?
Well, it's a very compound question there. But what I would say is, number one, I think testing, I really just think that the numbers that we have on testing are, regardless of where they're coming from, I don't think they're good numbers. I think we've all kind of understood that at this point, and nobody's really saying the quiet part loud, that we don't really have a handle on this thing. And that's not on necessarily any one person. It's just because this thing's coronavirus is so contagious and it spreads so quickly because of the asymptomatic period. It was able to get around our systems, and that's just a fact, right? That's just a fact.
Sure.
Other Western countries are having similar situations as well, so it's kind of hard to say.
Right.
I've seen some people say, "Oh, it was all on Trump's fault," but even Germany's having issues. The UK is having massive issues. They're the number one ground zero for Europe right now, so it's a huge issue. That being said, as far as when he calls out the media, the way I would put it is that disinformation is the enemy of the people, and so when you're taking the president's words and spinning them out of context, which admittedly isn't hard to do because he talks so much that you can always pull little snippets out here and there and make him sound like he said whatever you want him to say. I think that actually does a disservice not just to the viewers of people that are hearing that, but it also does a disservice writ large because, look, we're all in this situation together, right? I don't know that the coronavirus discerns between party members or looks at who you voted for in 2016, right? It's going to affect all of us, and it's going to affect all of our families. I know it certainly affects
Sure.
And definitely a time where I would hope that everybody is trying to step up their game and just trying to get the facts, find out what's going on, instead of, playing these games.
Can you give me, and I'm sure you have some examples, can you give me an example so people can really understand where you're coming from? An example where you think a member of the media twisted Donald Trump's words in a press conference and used it as just a situation where maybe they just wanted to make it about them. Can you, in perspective, exactly what you're talking about, just to give our listeners, an example if you can?
So the easiest one I could think of most recently is the ingesting Clorox thing. I mean, he never said that. He literally never said it.
Yeah.
He was talking about admittedly, it was an experimental procedure involving UV light, right? It was involving UV light. And he did not properly use some of the terminology, right? He talked about injecting it, which I don't think is how many people would think.
Right.
You're intubating.
Yeah.
But I can understand how he might think, intubating and injection are, kind of similar, right? Something going inside you. And the fact that they were able to mishmash his words together to make it sound like, and sure, we all saw the funny memes about Clorox and bleach and everything, but the fact of the matter is that he didn't actually say that.
You are correct. You are
alluded into something massively larger.
You are correct, and I don't disagree with you, and that's very fair. Let's see if we can make some common ground here. Would it be fair to say that the president probably shouldn't have had that dialogue to begin with? Because that's what it was. It was a dialogue. Let's be honest. He wasn't being sarcastic. He had a conversation with the doctors there. And because he did that, there are some idiots out there in the world, as I'm sure you would agree, some of whom, think that injecting yourself with Lysol is going to save your life. So while I completely agree with you, he didn't directly say it. He did bring it up, and there are a lot of idiots out there. So can we both agree that maybe it wasn't the smartest decision for the president to bring that up in the first place?
Well, I think what they're doing now, they're taking a new tack at the White House and kind of morphing into these, I guess, a more traditional press setting where you have long-form interviews that he's doing. He did a big town hall recently on Sunday night that got a lot of ratings. Unfortunately, it wasn't on our network. Maybe we'll get the next one. And then bringing Kayleigh McEnany on. Kayleigh's somebody that I actually got to know pretty well on the campaign trail. There's nobody who works harder than her, and I can absolutely say that. with 100% accuracy that she really does put in an incredible amount of hours, even with a little kid. And I think that with her being there and getting the communications and messaging on point, it's going to be a sea change in terms of those meetings.
And I hope you're right about that. I'll take your word on that. Can you explain to us why they haven't had press conferences with I mean, for months, right? For months they haven't had, and I'm not talking about obviously coronavirus press conference. I'm talking about the press briefings with the press secretary. I mean, have they given you guys explanations on why it's taken them so long to have one?
Well, from what I know, just talking to my own sources in the White House, they were being seen as ineffective and they were being seen as not valuable, right? Because if you're walking into a situation where your words are going to be twisted, these negative narratives are going to keep coming up, you're not going to be able to control the message, and there are so many other ways available to them right now in order to get their message across. I mean, let's face it, we live in a world of social media, right?
Right.
The power of the press and the press briefing writ large isn't quite what it used to be, say, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And so I think they were looking at it from a perspective of we don't need them.
Well, yeah, and I would make the argument, Jack, that CNN and those MSNBC, those networks have actually made a lot of money off of Donald Trump having those task force press briefings, et cetera, et cetera. I'm actually I'm a Trump supporter. I'm the Republican part of the show.
By the way, there's nobody who likes a feud better than Donald Trump, and I think we all.
Oh, he definitely he's a bit of a merchant of chaos in that regard. Is there? And you're with OAN. OAN is an exploding network. Obviously, Donald Trump has actually expressed favor to you guys more than Fox News in a couple situations as of recently. Is there any truth to the Trump family or Donald Trump Jr. and the Hicks family out of Dallas getting involved and investing and expanding OAN?
I honestly have no information on that other than what I've seen in the paper as well, and I can't confirm it either.
Let me ask you, just in your personal opinion, things that Donald Trump has done in the last 3.5 years, positives and negatives. Let's start with the positives. I want to get it from your perspective.
Well, I think one of the big positives that we all took a moment to think about over the past couple of weeks was North Korea, right? And it wasn't really that long ago where North Korea seemed like this massive looming threat to our country. Remember that? The nuclear testing,
right?
The long-range missiles,
yep.
The shooting missiles over Japan, the Sea of Japan. I mean, looking at like they were really rattling the sabers against South Korea. And even Barack Obama, when he left office, one of the things that he told to Trump as he was coming in, he said, North Korea is my number one issue. This is the number one thing that keeps me up at night that I'd like you to work on. And you got to give him credit where it's due. Trump, prior to all of this, made North Korea his number one priority. And we've seen progress there in a way that we haven't seen. I say this as an East Asia analyst. We haven't seen that type of progress there in a generation, in an absolute generation. And I think that when there was that question about Kim Jong-un, whether he was sick or he just had a surgery that didn't go well, that we were very worried, collectively worried, that we might go back to the situation that we used to be in where North Korea became a threat, whether it's, his sister is able to take power or some hardline general or something. And so realizing that, the status quo with North Korea actually isn't that bad. And you got to give Donald Trump credit for that because that really was all him.
What would you say as far as what has been his biggest downfall in the last 3.5 years and things that you think he needs to do to improve as a president?
The lack of an infrastructure bill. I think that working on American infrastructure and the amount of jobs that would create for Americans, certainly is going to be something coming out of this as we talk about reopening the economy is something that is going to be on everyone's minds. And look, in the first term, they decided to go for tax cuts. They tried to go for Obamacare. They couldn't get it. Those weren't really things that he campaigned on.
Right.
He campaigned on immigration, which he's done a little bit on, but not a lot, which I would also consider something that he hasn't quite gotten there yet or hadn't quite got the ball across the finish line. The wall, is it coming? Is it not coming? I don't know. We've got 172 miles apparently, but it's certainly not the wall that I think a lot of people are expecting. And then thirdly is that infrastructure bill. That was a massive part of his campaign. Remember, he was talking about the airports. He was talking about how, these look like third world airports when you fly into LaGuardia. That's his words, not mine. But this idea that we do have crumbling infrastructure in the United States, that hasn't changed while he's been in office. And so I'd love to see him make that part of any sort of recovery effort. And I think that he'd have a lot of these Democrat governors behind him.
I want to talk to you about the states, the Democratic states that have been affected by this pandemic. A lot of these states were in tough financial straits before this took place, and you saw what Illinois did. They actually requested $44 billion from the federal government. I think that you'll see California and New York and a lot of these states do the same thing. I mean, asking for a lot of money in return. And you've got Nancy Pelosi discussing about how there should be another $1 trillion that just goes to the states themselves. How do you think that Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump are going to respond to these states making these outrageous requests for bailout money, so to speak?
Well, that's the biggest issue, right? And I think that's something that Mnuchin is going to pay close attention to as well, as basically the executor of any of the money that goes out. Because, look, the situation is, and, I wouldn't say it's just Democrat states, right? Any state that's out there that has been in its own financial issues. We certainly know there's plenty of states that have pension crises that are coming forward. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm very familiar with Pennsylvania's pension crisis. That those states can't be using this money to fill up the problems that they'd had going on before.
Right.
One of the stories that I scooped, it wasn't on the states, but it was on the Kennedy Center, right? Originally on this, and I got a internal phone call from the Kennedy Center president, and it's this way of thinking that has me in this vein thinking about the states. And she was saying to her staff on this call that even before they got the money, she knew she was going to lay everybody off, and that they were going to put the money, or at least a sizable portion of the money, towards operating costs and operating shortfalls, servicing their debt, getting themselves out of their own financial mismanagement, rather than giving it to the workers, to the people that I think everybody across the board was expecting this money to go. The money's intended for them. It's not intended for you.
Sure.
Right.
Jack, what do you think, I want to give you the opportunity to answer this. What do you think is the biggest misconception about your network?
I think the biggest misconception is that we exist solely because of Trump, or that we exist solely because we want Trump to succeed. One American News got started during the Obama administration. I don't know if there was any real push for Trump one way or the other during the primaries. I wasn't part of the network at the time, but I'm not aware of any. And it's just been in this moment where certainly we've sort of aligned ourselves in at least on the opinion side, just being a conservative network with a conservative presidency. But this idea that, we only exist to do that, it's not true. There's actually a lot of journalism that comes out of our network. There's times where we don't see eye to eye with the president, and we're put out information that might be, that the White House might not like. And the White House, this is a lot of it's coming on me, actually. But what I try to do is I tell my viewers the truth. I tell my audience the truth.
Yep.
And whether it's something that they like, whether it's something they don't like, that's not necessarily up to me. What's up to me is to find the facts and present them so that they can make their informed decision. I'm here to present information. I'm not here to give you advice.
Well, Jack, I appreciate that about you, and I mean this as a compliment. I know you love what you do right now, but I would love to see you in that press room. I really would, because I think you would hold the president accountable, and I think you would ask great questions. It's not a cheap shot at some of your other reporters, but I really mean that as because I think you're really good at what you do, and I'm saying this for both sides of the aisle. I think there are reporters in that room on both sides of the aisle that are buffoons, for lack of a better term, and they don't ask the right questions on both sides of the aisle. And you're not one of those, and I appreciate you for that.
Name one on the other side, Brian.
I'm not going to name names because I just told you I'm not going to call out certain people. But I think there are even people that ask questions that are not relevant to the conversation. Just zero relevancy, like asking about Tiger King. That is ridiculous. That's a perfect example. I'm not going to say who it was, but I think, Jack, you know who I'm talking about. Hey, Jack, again, thank you so much for taking.
I think that guy was actually more of a conservative.
He probably was. He might have been. I mean, listen, I like Tiger King.
No, I'm okay. Man, I'm holding out for the one-on-one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know what? And you know what? I think you would do a great job, and I hope you get that one-on-one with the president. Jack Posobiec with OAN, thank you so much for your time. We'd love to have you on again sometime. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys.
All right,
thanks a lot, Jack.
I'll tell you what, I was really impressed by him. He answered the questions honestly. There were some questions where he didn't disagree with me. He just didn't really want to get into it, and I respect him for that. All right, coming up next, man, this is going to be a lot of fun. You've seen him on the big screen, or at least you've seen him in the adult entertainment industry from that. But he's also heavily involved in politics, at least on social media. I know we're going to get into it. We're going to have a great conversation. I love this guy. Evan Stone, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take. Evan Stone in the house.
This is important. Anyone can be affected by the prescription opioid crisis. If you think you've been hurt by Purdue or its prescription opioids like OxyContin, you may be entitled to compensation as part of Purdue's bankruptcy, but you have to file a claim. Claims may include overdose, death, substance use disorder, lost wages, and neonatal abstinence syndrome. A confidential claim can be filed by individuals, a legal guardian, by survivors or relatives of people who have died or are disabled. The deadline to file a claim is June 30th, 2020, or you will lose your right to file a claim. For more information, visit PurduePharmaClaims.com, or you can call toll-free 1-844.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
For coronavirus update. You're not the only one asking the question, where's the beef?
If you grew up any time in the 1970s, you may remember the Wendy's TV commercials that boasted the big beefy burgers in its restaurants, with an elderly woman asking in the ad to another fast food establishment, "Where's the beef?" Well, now many are asking Wendy's that question as coronavirus illnesses at several meat processing plants has slowed production to the point of temporary beef shortages, leaving 1 in 5 Wendy's with only chicken on the menu in several states. McDonald's says it's not having any shortage issues, and we've not heard from Burger King. Jim Roop, Los Angeles.
Casino workers across the country want their employers to provide them with protective equipment and adopt tough new cleaning and social distancing policies before the gambling halls reopen. Today, 2 of the unions laid out health and safety protocols for the workers to return. I'm Mike Moss. As Texas takes steps to reopen, correspondent Ed Lavandera reports there is an increase in coronavirus cases.
Over the course of the last 6 days, there have been more than 1,000 new coronavirus cases being reported here across the state. And in Dallas County in particular, the latest numbers for today haven't been released just yet, but we have seen an uptick in the number of cases.
A warning on reopening from the AMA president, Patrice Harris.
We are likely to see an increase in the number of hospitalizations, certainly in the number of positive cases, and unfortunately death, because we may be relaxing too soon.
The last day has seen the highest number of virus deaths since May 29th. More than 70,000 have died in this country as a result of coronavirus. On Wall Street, the Dow up 349 points. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Watch for debris on the highway on the 215 Western Beltway southbound approaching Flamingo. A minor crash reported Charleston, just west of Rancho. Not blocking, but watch for police presence in the area. Approach with caution. And no delays to report on the Southern Beltway, east side, west side inbound to I-15. These are challenging times, and Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is prepared to help. If you need mortgage assistance, contact their team 24/7 at rocketmortgage.com. From their home to yours, the team at Rocket Mortgage is with you. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
Disinfecting Solution knows that many Las Vegans are at home worried about the safety and health of their loved ones. Disinfecting Solution is here to help our community. Right now, the interior of any size home for only $250. The Disinfecting Solution staff are all trained in accordance to CDC standards, using only hospital-grade products, killing 99.9% of all germs, safe for children and pets. 866-800-7768 or at disinfectingsolution.com.
Now more than ever, we need companies that have our back. Homey just launched in Las Vegas and is already saving us thousands in real estate fees, and now they're helping our community in partnership with United Way of Southern Nevada. For each home bought or sold with Homey, they are donating $500 to the United Way to provide rent and mortgage assistance. And if you have to sell your home because of COVID-19, Homey will rebate their $2,500 listing fee back to you. Text JD to 88588 to buy or sell with Homey. Homey really does have our back.
More lawyer, less fee.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. Have you been injured in a crash? Do you want to win your case? Do you want the insurance companies saying,
It's Paul Powell?
Of course you do. I've spent almost 20 years helping injury victims get paid, and I for sure can help you.
If you're tired of greedy lawyers, call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
Paul Powell. More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply. This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM, KDON.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, broadcasting live not only on the airwaves of KDWN, but also on YouTube, the Vegas Take YouTube page. You might want a visual here for this segment. The guy we have with us in Chris Wynn's home right now. This guy has been one of the top male porn stars of the last several decades. He's been doing it a while. He's very, very good at what he does. I don't mean to make you sound old, Evan, but you've been doing it. You're a veteran. I think that's fair to say. Evan Stone, ladies and gentlemen, joining us. Evan, thanks for being here, my man.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's very exciting.
You live like right down the road. It's like a little stroll for you. Did you walk over here?
As a matter of fact, no, I had to get inside this really secure airproof van to get here.
Really?
Yeah, and they gagged me with like a duct tape, which I thought was kind of weird because I thought it should be a mask.
Listen, throughout your career, you've gagged a lot of people.
Well,
so
that's because this is our underground bunker.
This is the underground bunker somewhere in Florida.
So, Evan, how are you holding up during this coronavirus pandemic?
Well, I've had to limit my my orgies to 5 or less. That has been a big, comeback. And then, of course, there's the hot tub and all the other, stuff that, I've self-prescribed myself for, the healing of the pandemic that's never coming.
So I have to give you a funny story. Our friend of the show and contributor, Chris Wynn, who's sitting over there, we're in his home. We go to the AVN Porn Awards a few years ago, and I'm taking pictures with all these hot women everywhere. I must have taken 40 or 50 pictures, right? He hadn't taken a picture in a while, and then he's like, bro, you know who that is? That's Evan Stone. And of course I know who you are. He got a little more excited than I did. But so he's taking pictures with you, and I just showed you one of the pictures. He's all like gung-ho, And then he looks at me and he goes, bro, this is going to hurt my credibility. You've taken 40 or 50 pictures with chicks. That's the only picture I've taken here in 2 hours. Honestly, he was so excited to see you. Do you get that from straight men?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I go on tour with Katie Morgan. Usually we.
Who's also your girlfriend,
right? And so
you lucky bastard.
I know, right? Dipping both ends. So, and usually you send somebody with her, to be security, carry your bags, and stuff like that. But the clubs found out that we were dating. Bring Evan. We'll pay him to come out there, which is great. Now we're not paying someone. We're both getting paid. So I go out there, and it's the whole club. They're all around me. I mean, obviously the hardcore fans are standing in her line, to get pictures and all this other stuff. And all the titty dancers are just like, what the heck is going on here?
I absolutely
Everybody
love that.
has to have a drink with Evan Stone in the bar.
Of course. But I would imagine this coronavirus pandemic, it's hurting everybody, right? Because in your industry, obviously you're not, I would assume you're not filming, right?
We shut down before.
Yeah. So this is hurting all the local business. It's hurting everybody. Let's just be honest about it. But
somebody's making money.
Well,
who's making money?
Well, we'll get to that. But
hospitals.
I mean, Do you feel like in your industry are people positive? Saying, all right, we'll get back on track soon enough, or like what's the take of that?
Here, the progression of people asked me a long time ago where I thought the progression of the adult industry was going, and we were shooting film at that time. Then we went on to digital, and then of course the big at the award show, all the shows were were Wicked, and all the companies themselves had the biggest booth, and now it's all these cam companies, and so the progression has been. Some people are still doing the adult, some people are doing the cam thing, and there's been a line. But now people that are doing adult, they can't do adult right now, and so they're actually going over and where the other companies would be like after them, hey, what come cam for me? They're like,
right.
That's all right, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Now they're all getting to it, so that's what everybody's like camming right now.
So I have to ask you this, and by the way, I love it. We bust each other's balls on Facebook, and it's great. I love it because we talk.
Wait,
about...
that's you?
That's me. Yeah, that's me. We talk on Facebook, and I've name called. You called me a tool, and I'm laughing.
I said tool. I didn't say you were a tool. I just said tool, and you guys fell for that.
No,
stuff.
but I love it because we make fun of each other, and I love that about you. It's fun.
That's never changed.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun, and it's not personal because I love you.
Well,
but in a very heterosexual way, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't get the
other
wrong
stuff's
idea.
weird.
Yes,
You're getting a little close to Evan, Brian.
All right,
getting a little
I
expensive.
have to ask Evan this question, and it's the point I make with Evan all the time. Obviously, you support the Republican Party. Obviously, you're in support of the president, which is fine. But I guess the question I always wanted to ask you was, in person, was you do realize if conservatives, many on the alt-right, were running the country, you would have never have had a career in the adult entertainment industry.
You say that, but the Constitution stops them from doing that. They say they want to do all this stuff, but they don't do it.
Well, they in a way, they can't.
Exactly, they can't do it.
I don't disagree with you.
Yes.
But still, you have to admit to me that many on the alt-right are anti-porn, anti-strip clubs. I mean, I would say most of the right.
Who cares? I don't care. It's their opinion.
Most of the right is wrong.
I know, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that's their opinion. You're willing to have your opinion, but still not going to change the Constitution and the rules and the laws that the whole country is presented under.
I understand that, but when you look at most of the governors that are Republicans in certain states, and from what I've noticed, they're not as liberal as other states. You're not going to see as many strip clubs. They don't want the porn industry coming to their city. You have to at least give me that.
Which state is that?
Well, I'm just speaking in general terms here, but I mean, I guess the point
I think he's talking about Maine.
Listen, it's the same point I make if you are a homosexual, right? Now, there are people that I talk to that are homosexuals that are Republicans, and I say to myself, you do realize that the majority of Republicans are anti-gay marriage, homophobic as far as I'm concerned. So I asked them I'm not singling you out. I asked them that same question that I asked you. Doesn't it bother you that you're in the party of those who probably don't appreciate what you have done and what you still do for a living?
Why do you say the majority of Republicans all believe that?
If you took 1,000 Republicans, 100 Republicans, I guarantee you more than 50%.
In your hypothetical.
Well, I haven't talked to one Republican that is pro-porn.
What I'm saying is, like, you're saying there's a majority. How are you coming to this conclusion? There's a majority of Republicans
in my life,
feel that way.
I'm 40 years old. I've never spoken.
So this is your individual assumption that all these Republicans feel this as majority feel the way that you present them.
Is it your opinion that more than 50% of Republicans are absolutely pro-porn and pro-strip clubs? I've never spoken to anybody, one evangelical on the right that has been for that. I've never spoken to one Republican that was pro-porn. I never in my life. So yeah, I guess I am talking about my experiences. I see Republicans on TV all the time.
I'm Republican, Brian.
I see Republicans.
I'm pro-porn. Calm down. Don't even look at him.
I didn't say every Republican. I watch TV all the time. I mean, look at what they did to Larry Flint. That's a perfect example.
What did they do to Larry Flint?
They tried to take him down. If not for that, well, he's in a wheelchair.
Okay, well, that government didn't shoot him.
The government didn't shoot him, but a whack job on the right shot him.
Okay, well, and there's a lot of whack jobs on the left that have shot people also.
There are
a lot of whack jobs out there. However, he succeeded in defending himself with the Constitution.
He went through hell to do it.
Doesn't matter. He
had a pretty
succeeded.
damn good attorney.
They did
Ed Norton's a great attorney.
I know, but whatever you say, what was the end? He won.
Yeah, but look at what the guy had.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter when he went through the guy's wheelchair.
Bob, we can go with that. Well, no, but I didn't shoot him. You didn't shoot him. There's crazy people out there.
I didn't say you did.
Okay, because he got shot. Whose fault is that?
Well, first of all, he shouldn't have been in court to begin with. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He wouldn't have been in court to begin with if those on the right didn't go after him and try to censor him. That is my problem with people that censor. And let me be very clear on this. If you don't like a radio show, you could change the channel. If you don't like a television show, you can turn your TV off. If you don't like porn, nobody is forcing you to buy it. I don't like it when people interfere with my rights. Okay, it is my right. If I want to watch Evan Stone naked 24/7, I can do that. You know, I mean, and I think there are a lot of people on the right that try to infringe on that. That's the only point I'm really trying to make here. When it comes to religion, I feel the exact same way.
No, the problem with what you're doing is you're taking the evangelical perspective, the extremist perspective, and you're applying it to every single Republican, even those that are closer to moderate. And that's just not the case at all. In fact, I would say that if you did a poll, if you polled 1,000 Republicans, but you included moderate Republicans,
let's talk about Evan's
which
poll.
there are a lot of them, you're probably looking at 77 to 23. 77% say yes, we support it because it doesn't affect our lives adversely, and 23% say no, we don't support it because we're evangelical or we're pro this, pro that. Evan, I wanted to ask you a question. You mentioned how people are cam girling right now, cam girling, cam guying. What about OnlyFans.com? OnlyFans is this new national phenomenon. Now that people are sitting at home, they're digesting more digital content than they ever have in their entire life. There was 3 million OnlyFans accounts created in the last month. First of all, do you have an OnlyFans account yourself? And do you think that right now, especially for single people, is America as horny as it's ever been before right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even more so because you're locked up in your house. You see your wife all the time. You're not making it to the titty bar.
That's absolutely fair. All right, let's talk about your boy Donald Trump. I know this is you obviously support Donald Trump. I don't, and 95% of the reason why I don't like the guy is I think he's a scumbag. What he's
Is that an internal poll?
Well, it's just me. I'm just giving you the reason why I don't like the guy because of the way he's lived his life. I think he's a scam artist. I think the way he treats people, he goes after women based on looks on a regular basis. It was a few months ago. He went after Nancy Pelosi's dentures. He's done things like that before. The things he said about John McCain, I don't respect him because he's captured. The things he said about illegal immigrants. I mean, I can go on and on and on. That's why I don't like the president of the United States. What do you say to that?
You're entitled to your opinion.
Do you think Donald Trump's a good guy?
I like how his policies are working out. That's my opinion of this. I don't know the guy personally. You don't like him because of personal reason? That's up to you, man. I'm talking about what he campaigned on and what he's produced since then.
All right, let's go with that. I remember his biggest campaign slogan was, "We're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it." How did that end up?
Well, let's see. Did the Democrats try to stop him or help him?
That's not what I asked you.
Hold on. Did the Democrats try to stop him or help him?
I don't think the Democrats tried to help him because I think it's
so that's fine. Okay, so he was not able to complete the project, but he did get it started, though. Yes.
Mexico's not paying for the wall.
Is the wall finished?
No.
Is his presidency finished?
No.
Okay, then we're still up there, aren't we?
But he said the first.
When it's over, then his presidency is over. Then you can come back and say, "Oh, he didn't have that happen." But right now, his presidency's still going. Perhaps his presidency will go on 4 more years.
You're a smart guy. You don't believe that. You think
I totally believe
You think he's going to build that wall and Mexico's going to pay for it?
Well, I don't know.
Believe that?
The things that were said about the wall being, racist and all this other stuff.
That's like me saying you have a small penis. It's not true.
This perspective. That's all perspective. I can show you some guys that make my penis look small, bro. All perspective.
Fair enough. All right, so you like some of his policies. I always ask Trump supporters this question, and I'm sure you'll give me a very eloquent answer. You're a smart guy. What has Donald Trump done that makes you love his policy so much? Give me some examples.
What has Donald Trump done?
What has he done in 3.5 years, policy-wise, that you say, wow, what a great job he's done?
Removed a lot of restrictions and improved the economy.
How?
How has the economy improved?
Yeah.
Record unemployment numbers.
But how?
But how did he do it?
Policy.
By his policies were removing restrictions on his business, on EPA restrictions that were altering business, and tax structure.
Are you willing to give Barack Obama
zoning, taxes, and Dodd-Frank, which allowed banks to loan more money to small businesses?
So my opinion on it is this, Evan.
Yes.
I think that Barack Obama took over an absolute mess. I think he got us certainly going in the right direction. I think policy-wise, I don't think Donald Trump has done anything to screw that up as far as you mentioned, the economy and unemployment numbers, and I've given him credit for that. But I think Republicans out there want to give Trump all the credit for where we are with the economy, and I certainly would give some of that credit to Barack Obama. Do you think that's fair?
No.
Why?
He himself said the numbers were not achievable. He said this was the new. This was I'm paraphrasing. He said this was the new norm, the economy, and we're going to proceed over the decline of America, blah, blah, blah. He said these numbers were not achievable. He said these are the new numbers. He said this is it, right? Trump said, and Trump campaigned on, this is not it. I can make this economy better, right? And he did so.
Mm-hmm. But when you look at where the numbers started when Obama took office, the unemployment numbers I'm specifically talking about now, and where they ended up when he left, you don't give him any credit for that at all?
The unemployment numbers, when they were calculated when he started, were they the same calculations when he ended his presidency?
What do you mean by calculations?
How they calculate?
Explain what you mean by
how
that.
they calculate the unemployment numbers.
So you're saying the numbers are askew?
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you.
Well, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out where you're going with this. You're saying that the numbers were not accurate, or they were askew, or they were misleading?
Even if they, I'm just saying that there's an option there that these numbers, if they were not calculated the same, then you would get different numbers. And the economy, in case anybody, I don't know anybody who went through the whole presidency of Obama who said, wow, this economy is looking great. This economy is looking better. And he inherited an
I heard
economy.
people say that the economy was turning around. I've heard people say that
Did
during
they?
the Obama. Absolutely, during the Obama. When from the day he took office, from the day he left office, there's no question. It's not debatable. The economy was in a better spot. We were in a better spot. What Trump took over was a far better situation than when Obama took over 8 years before. I mean, that's just a fact.
Well, yeah, he followed a recession. He followed the housing crisis.
Well, regardless of whether it was,
So
I'm just
obviously
saying,
it wasn't difficult
Right.
for him to improve that. And
Well,
it went up and down. But at the end of Barack Obama's presidency, there was 43 million Americans on food stamps and welfare, Brian.
Okay, but I mean that doesn't change my opinion, and I guess it's what you said was that it's it's not difficult to turn it around. I would disagree with you. There are some presidents that have taken over horrible economies, and they were not able to turn it around. Obama was. Listen, I didn't vote for Barack Obama, Evan. You might be surprised to know that. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton either. But one thing I always say about Barack Obama is this, and I don't think this is debatable. I think he's a good husband. I think he's a good father. He seems to me to be a decent human being, a good man that didn't embarrass the country. Now, you can disagree with some of his policies. I don't think he did a good job as far as racial relations goes. He made some mistakes. He's done some things I didn't approve of. But I think he's a decent man. You had George W. Bush a few days ago put out a video just trying to bring people together. And I am not a George W. Bush guy. Ill-advised war. Yeah, and I know you're not either. We've talked about that. But he puts out this video saying he wants people to come together. And I actually thought it was a good video. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter who you are. And then Donald Trump attacks him and says, where were you when I was impeached? And I'm thinking to myself, stop making it about yourself, you a-hole. Every single time Trump is in front of a camera, he tries to make it about himself. Evan, I respect your opinion when it comes to policy, and you gave me a good answer. But do you understand why I'm not a Donald Trump supporter? I think he is a bad human being, and he embarrasses the country.
Well, when I vote for a president, I don't wonder if he's a good husband or a good provider or takes care of his family like that, or I don't agree with him on some of the stuff he says or the way he says it. I want the guy to run the country. I want the guy to run the country, to be a bad butt.
Then why is it that so many Republicans still go after Bill Clinton for his sexcapades then, if that's the case?
What?
You hear Sean Hannity and people every day still bringing up Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky.
Bill Clinton lied to Congress.
You don't think Donald Trump has lied? He lies every day.
Well, no, that is your opinion of a lie. I tell you it's raining outside. You look outside and see it sprinkling, so you say it's not raining. Therefore, I'm a liar.
Well, let's go with that. Let's go with that. When Donald Trump brought up the disinfectants, which I thought was asinine on his part, and he was caught for showing his stupidity, in my opinion. And then, hold on, let me just pose the question. And then the next day he said, oh, I was just being sarcastic. Can you look me in the eye and tell me that Donald Trump was not lying? You think he was being sarcastic? Didn't sound sarcastic to me. It was a serious conversation he was having with Dr. Birx.
Yeah. There was the conversation he had is like, what if we could do this? Maybe we could do this. There were what ifs, not maybes, and a bunch of other stuff.
So he was being sarcastic?
Fuck, he was being sarcastic.
Watch the effort. Watch the effort.
He was being sarcastic. It's funny that the left only has a sense of humor when they're telling jokes.
See, I don't think anything's funny when you're doing well, this is my personal opinion. I don't think it's any time to tell a joke when you're doing a press conference and people are dying, a coronavirus press conference. People want to know where they're going to get their next paycheck from. People want to know when things are going to reopen. I don't think it's appropriate to make a joke, number one, and I don't think it was a joke. Nobody was laughing. The president wasn't laughing. Nobody in the room was laughing. Dr. Birx looked like she wanted to go and hide somewhere.
Well, what it was they had a private conversation outside of the press conference. He brought it up in the press
he shouldn't have
conference,
done.
which is the same thing Mayor Carolyn Goodman did when she brought up the conversation she had with Jeremy Aguero, who we had on the show.
And how did that work out for her?
About Las Vegas possibly being a control group.
Let's talk about that.
It was the exact same situation.
I'm glad you brought that up. And by the way,
he made a mistake bringing that up, obviously.
And how did that work out for Carolyn Goodman bringing that up? But I want to talk to, we were talking a little bit off the air, and I said I would support Evan Stone for mayor of Las Vegas. The reason why I say it because I think he's a good guy, and I actually think he's a smart guy. We disagree a little bit on politics, and that's fine. But I like Evan.
And he's showing his political chops here.
So, Evan, I have to ask you this. Speaking of the mayor of Las Vegas.
Did he touch me? Did you see that?
I've touched you several times, by the way.
This was the only one I care about.
I'm getting aroused. So
we're almost not practicing social distancing in a group of 10.
Evan, what did you make of Carolyn Goodman's interview with Anderson Cooper on CNN that went viral? What did you make of that? Put the microphone to your face. Did I stump you?
CNN.
I was thinking about it.
I know he's going to call fake news. I'm just waiting for it to come.
I'm excited for it.
So what was the one question that stumped her?
I don't think she was stumped. I just think she answered some of the questions, in a ridiculous way. For example, bringing up the fact that she was thinking of using us as a case study, as guinea pigs, bringing up the fact that she wants everything to open up tomorrow, yet she has zero answers. Bringing up the fact that she is close friends with the mayor of L.A., and by the way, the mayor of L.A. has done a lot for testing, and then she said, oh, well, that's not really my job. You can't make the argument that you want to open up everything else when you have no solutions. It's not your jurisdiction. And then Anderson Cooper asked her, are you going to be in the casinos if everything opened up tomorrow? She said, no, I don't gamble. I think she made herself look exactly. She made herself look very, very ignorant.
Forgot about that.
Listen, I'm friends with Oscar Goodman, so this is tough for me. I love Oscar. I've known him for, 15 years. Great guy. Extremely intelligent. Carolyn Goodman, I think she's a very nice person. I really do believe that. But she shouldn't be doing any more interviews. And she was on our show 2 days before that interview.
No, that's actually better than what you said 2 weeks ago, which was, I don't think she's a very intelligent person.
Well, I stand by that.
So I can appreciate that.
I stand by that. I'll say it again. I don't think she's extremely intelligent. Oscar's a very smart guy. I'm not going to sit here and not own my words, unlike the commander-in-chief. That's what I said. I think she showed her stupidity on that interview with Anderson Cooper. It's why it went viral. So those are just a few things.
Well, no, and that's exactly why it went viral. There's no other reason to anyone to watch CNN.
Right.
So
cheap shot.
Necessary.
I mean, like I said, the power of the mayor of this particular city, it's very limited. They pretty much sign the stuff that happens at the house, and then she cuts ribbons and stuff like that. She was ill-prepared and was not speaking from any kind of authority to make these decisions. Mm-hmm. Now, she should come out to say, I have got an opinion about this, but if her opinion, if it was just an opinion, then she should have had more to say when the guy said, well, tell me about your opinion. She was like, well, I'm not going to answer your questions because
I'm not going to go down that hole.
I'm one of your fans. I was like...
She did do that.
She talked about him 2 or 3 times, and she tried not to answer those questions.
Yeah.
And he would not let her do it.
Yeah.
I mean, she tried very hard to get out of that interview without, having those scathing comments.
I thought she was just going to drop down to her knees and pray.
Right, obviously.
Yes, obviously, because that's what all Republicans
You're thinking about one of your videos. That must be what you were just talking about. But, this is a long-winded answer you're probably going to give me because it's a big, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Governor Sisolak. I wanted to talk about, how you think he's handled this whole pandemic. We have to take a break. I think we got a couple more minutes, but let's start talking about Governor Sisolak. What are your thoughts on him? What are your thoughts of the way he handled this pandemic? What would you have done differently?
This is Nevada. I mean, the whole state. I mean, it's all predicated on gambling. The reason that we're here in the middle of the thing is because it is a place to go to. It's the public place. It is like that's the whole thing, right? Full of casinos, full of people, and all this other stuff. The guy has some difficult choices. I mean, especially when it comes to something like this. But the model they were given was this apocalyptic end all. Right, everyone's going to get sick. The hospital's going to be overrun. This is just going to be a crazy pandemic, and hundreds of thousands are going to die. Right, this is probably what they were told to get what kind of reaction that every state decided to go ahead and shut down. Now, a lot of these states, the reason they shut down and why they're continuing to shut down without even thinking about opening up, they're not in the same position as Nevada is in. Nevada survives on this. We're not making our money on Lake Mead. Right. We have to have this revenue.
Or income tax.
Or income.
Or sales tax
or sales
for
tax,
food.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I know we have
and
to
the porn tax. They're not even paying that.
Not yet.
Speaking of which, I don't know if people know this. As changing the subject, Evan Stone used to be a Chippendale dancer. Isn't that true?
That is true.
So if Carolyn Goodman showed up, would you give her a lap dance?
Oh, absolutely.
You would?
Oh, yeah.
Would you say anything to her?
Well, I mean, just probably slap her with my stuff.
Oh my
it's not really a speaking thing. It's more of a,
All right. So
actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, that is true. Can you stick around for a few more minutes?
Of course.
Is that cool? We are here with a adult film star legend, ladies. Now, not every day you get to do that. It's Evan Stone. Also happens to be an extremely intelligent guy.
You do use that word very liberally, but in this situation,
It's true.
It is accurate.
Yeah.
He is an actual legend.
Yeah, that is true. So we're going to take a quick break. Evan is nice enough to stick around for a few more minutes. I'll tell you what, if you have any questions you'd like to ask Evan Stone, anything we've discussed, give us a buzz, 702-257-5396. Phone lines are open, so if you want to ask Evan a question or anything that we've discussed here in the show, you're more than welcome to. Again, that number to call is 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take.
Maybe you can relate to this. A lot of people think they're stuck with their health plan. It costs too much, or for whatever reason, they just don't like it. The great news, you are not stuck with it. There is a choice. It's called MediShare, and you could save so much. The typical savings for a family is $500 a month. Major difference maker. This is the affordable alternative to health insurance. And just to give you a little more info about MediShare, it's a Christian healthcare sharing ministry. It's worked beautifully for 26 years, has more than 400,000 members, and they've shared over $3 billion of each other's medical bills. So, yes, they can help share your needs too. So you're not stuck. There's an excellent alternative, whether you're single or married, you got a family. MediShare is super flexible. You can choose an option that works for you and start saving lots of money. You can join.
Update. Officials with the Trump administration are reportedly telling members of the coronavirus task force that the White House plans to wind down their operation. The New York Times quotes officials as saying it might never be formally announced, and it's not clear what, if anything, would replace it. President Trump is visiting Arizona today for a tour of a factory making respirator masks. And his correspondent Linda Kenyon tells us the president told reporters on his way out of the White House he has no concerns for his safety.
Everybody traveling has been tested. We have great testing.
And when it comes to wearing a mask himself, the president said since it's a mask environment at the facility he will be visiting, he likely would wear a mask.
As more countries around the world move to reopen businesses, the numbers of new coronavirus deaths have also spiked. The 24-hour toll is the highest in a week. The virus death toll in the U.S. has just passed 70,000. I'm Jan Johnson.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Watch for slowing for the crash reported 95 southbound at the Spaghetti Bowl. Vehicles are off to the right, not blocking. Weather is precautionary slowing. Also an accident. Alta at Rancho. Use MLK or Valley View and get around that one. And an accident reported on Cary Avenue at Nellis Boulevard. No injuries, but avoid slowing. You can use an alternate like Lake Mead or Lamb Boulevard instead. Need to manage a changing workforce? It's time to get to know the Express Employment Professionals. Find a location near you at ExpressPros.com. John Michaels from the K-Don Traffic Center.
Hey, it's Sean Hannity here. I know the business climate has changed dramatically, but if you need to sell your home, don't believe the myth that homes aren't selling. Joining me now is a true expert at selling homes, Rick Brinkus of Keller Williams Realty, the marketplace. So what's your advice on selling a home right now?
Sean, that's a great question. After selling houses for over 34 years, and literally helping thousands of families navigate through difficult times like this, I've got a plan in place that is helping sellers get their homes sold in a timely manner and getting great prices for their homes.
So what does that mean for sellers?
Well, for home sellers, it's a great opportunity right now. What we're finding is there's a lot less competition out there, and we're able to use our technology like virtual tours so you can actually show your house and be completely safe without actually having people walk through your home. It's not necessary to have an open house to sell a house in today's market.
All right, thanks so much. Look, don't trust your home to just anyone. Call the Brinkus team today at 702-456-5959, online at thebrinkesteam.com.
License number BS 16186.
Hi, it's David Masters. Join me and my brother Alan for Advice Line, 10 to midnight, Monday through Friday, right here on 720 KDON and on 101.5 FM. That's Advice Line, America's live radio counseling program. If you've got problems, we've got your answers. Monday through Friday, 10 to midnight.
V is for victory.
except on Saturdays when V is for veterans. That's Veterans Talk, The Forgotten Promise. Join us every Saturday from noon to 1.
Veterans Talk every Saturday at noon on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Personally, I think you're a sexual deviant, Brian.
Welcome back. It's the Vegas Take. Yeah, we did get a caller thinking that I'm a sexual deviant. I guess I am. I'm in love with Evan Stone. Number to call, 702-257-5396. Your chance to talk a little politics with one of the most famous adult film stars of all time. I think that's very fair to say. Do you get pissed off when people say you're no Ron Jeremy? Has anyone ever said that to you?
I am Ron Jeremy. You've never seen us both in the same room.
Fair enough.
Got the bald head wig and
I would like
got
to
the
see
fat
that.
bodysuit that I put on.
How is he still alive, by the way, with all the drugs he's done in his life?
Well, you know what? He doesn't do drugs and he doesn't drink.
He doesn't look too good these days. Let's be honest.
Well, no, that's well, actually, he's 160, but the 16-year-old's keeping that young.
Fair enough.
I mean, 18-year-old's keeping that young.
All right, so we're going to take some phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call if you want to ask a question or comment. We're talking about Donald Trump. We're talking, of course, about the protests throughout the country. And Evan Stone says he is seriously considering running for mayor of Las Vegas. Would you vote for him over Carolyn Goodman? Would you vote for somebody with no political experience, certainly has experience in business and has experience in the adult entertainment industry? So that's the question I would
you have to think about
pose.
this. If Las Vegas were to be the porn capital of the world, how much additional revenue would that bring in every single year? Because the number is very high.
Well, you know, I mentioned that, and I think it's important to note that I think Evan has something in common with Oscar Goodman, and that is the fact that Oscar loves this city just as much as Evan does. All right, let's go to the phones. Again, 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to George. George, you are on the Vegas Take with Evan Stone. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, George?
Hi, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good.
Listen, with regard to Mayor Goodman, I think she was ill prepared for the interview with Anderson Cooper, but I could understand her pain. She loves this city just as much as Oscar does. He's done a lot for this city. They've been the cheerleaders for Las Vegas forever.
Sure.
And one of the things that troubles me the most is that if you go back to the H1N1 pandemic in 2009, we had in the state of Nevada 5,500 cases of H1N1. We did not close down the state at all. The casino stayed open.
Right.
People came to Las Vegas, but there were 61 million cases of H1N1 in the United States.
Right.
The target group for the H1N1 virus were people who were 18 to 50 years old, roughly. So if you look at our economy and our business, we didn't practice social distancing in Las Vegas. Yet, statewide, there were 5,000 cases, 44 deaths.
So I'm assuming that your point being because of the low amount of deaths and cases, I think what he's trying to say is that we probably shouldn't close down. I certainly don't want to put words. Okay.
I don't think we should have. I mean, we weren't.
So you think the Strip should have remained open the entire time?
He's saying it was an overreaction.
Well, okay, but
which I've said.
An overreaction is one thing. An overreaction is one thing. Well, Evan, let me ask you that question. Do you think that the Strip should have never closed down? I mean, because I think the opposite. I think the governor made the right decision in doing that. What do you say?
I think it was the biggest mistake America ever made was shutting itself down. This is totally out of proportion, and these numbers do not equate to shutting down an economy of 350 million people.
What would have happened, though, if the Strip remained open? I think it's fair to say we could have looked like New York. You have all these tourists.
Yeah. What if? A lot of what ifs there. What if we hadn't done it? Then maybe nobody would have died. You could say that same thing. What if we had done some of it, but not the social distancing? Well, a lot of that stuff is a lot of what if. But the numbers we have right now do not equate to shutting down the United States economy.
Well, are you okay with opening up the Strip tomorrow?
Yes.
You would be down there?
Yes.
Really? And you wouldn't be afraid of contracting the virus?
The only issue with that is that if you open up the Strip tomorrow, if you open up the Strip 2 months ago, if tourists aren't going to come, the Strip's just going to set money on fire. So like, it doesn't make any sense.
That's a part of it from
economically to be open.
That's the economic
But I
side
think
of it.
I think local businesses and local casinos should have been open because, like Evan said, this is a total overreaction considering the numbers and the circumstances. And Brian, we don't know when the virus got here. We don't actually know what the mortality rate is because we've been testing for the actual virus itself. And people that have severe symptoms as opposed to antibodies in people who may have gotten the virus back in December or January or something along those lines. And we could never look like New York if the Strip was shut down or if the Strip was even open, if people weren't here. And the Las Vegas itself, we don't have vertical living.
I'm assuming if people were here. I'm making that assumption if people were here. And I think we could have looked like New York if you had hundreds of thousands of people on the Strip every day. Absolutely.
But by that logic, the entire country would have looked like New York.
No, because the casinos and our specific demographic of people from all over the world coming to the Las Vegas Strip is very different than if you're in Omaha or other parts of the country.
So you're saying people would have come here, stayed for a couple of days, and left?
Absolutely, and I think it would have spread the virus not necessarily just in Las Vegas or Nevada, but throughout the country.
But you don't think that if the virus was here, let's say during CES or during the Super Bowl, that it was spread at an event like that?
The problem is we don't know how many people were infected back then, and we don't have the statistics for me to make an educated opinion on that. I just can't do it. But let's get back to the phone calls. Evan Stone with us, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Hey, Brian. You know what? First of all, I'm glad that you took control of the show again. Chris sucks, man. He always puts me against a hard break.
Oh,
anyway,
sorry. I'll send the message to Chris. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's cool. You never put me up against a hard break unless you have a guest and you need to clear the line.
Okay. So what's your question for Evan? Go ahead, Ron.
Evan, you want to be our governor?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I want to be president of the United States of America. But in order to do that, the people I talked to, the money people, they said I need to hold a political office beforehand, before I actually get up in there, unless I hold a degree or something like that, which I don't, unless there's a degree offered in adult industry. And I have them all.
Go ahead, Ron.
The porn HD.
I'll tell you something. Me and Brian, I love Brian, man. He's great. I would be his best friend if I could ever.
I think he might actually have a crush on you at this point, Brian.
We're like totally opposite, but I'll tell you what, you're very knowledgeable, and you know it would be great if somehow, some way you could run for governor. I would like.
And you know what? Then he can hire me as his media liaison. I could be like his Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I would do that for Evan, by the way, because I know it would be a very.
You could be Evan's official jester. That would be great.
Evan,
you speak reporter. You could do this.
I think I could. Listen, I would absolutely do what Sarah Huckabee Sanders did for Evan, and I would just pull in all the dirty stuff underneath the rug, and I would only shed you in a positive light. Well, I would do that anyway.
Bring the dirt out. Bring it all.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Did we lose Steve?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Do the job, and he wants to research, what the town really needs, and, he sounds like he's an intelligent person. Maybe it's time for a change. And may I make one other statement? Is that okay, Brian?
Sure, Evan. So wait, hold on a second, Steve. You're saying you would vote for Evan?
He is endorsing Evan Stone as mayor. Yes.
Is that an endorsement, Steve?
If he feels he can do the job, sometimes it's good to get a new broom sweeps clean. Somebody new, somebody fresh, somebody with new ideas. If he feels he can do it, and he has a confidence.
I'm with you. Go ahead, Steve.
One last note. The masks are not effective. Here's why. Cigarette smoke goes right through them. Public Library of Science reported that cigarette smoke measures 2 microns. And guess what? The coronavirus measures 1. It'll go right through the mask. So all this nonsense about mask gloves, it helps a little, but it doesn't stop it. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Good show.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for your vote, Steve. Appreciate it.
So all right, let's go with that. The coronavirus, we know it travels through the air. We understand that it stays on objects. JD, you even talked about the fact that it could be on the back of your shoes. I'm just surprised, Evan, that you'd be okay with opening. Listen, I'm okay. Let me give you my opinion. I'm okay with small business opening up right now. We took a trip to Utah. We had a nice dinner, actually walked into the restaurant and had a couple beers, and it was great, right? But I'm one of those people that says I don't think the Strip and gaming should open up. Let's start phase 1, what the president is saying. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Let's start with phase 1. Let's make sure we're good, and let's be careful about this because we don't want the same thing to happen again, right? We don't. That's why I'm afraid about opening up the Strip. You see where I'm going with that?
Absolutely.
So what do you say to that?
Well, the same thing is not going to happen again because the same thing didn't happen. The numbers that you have, for this virus, you're saying that these death numbers are high enough to shut down the economy, and then the danger is if we all get together that you're going to get the virus that probably won't kill you.
Well, what do you mean probably won't kill you?
It could. Right.
So we've had close to 70,000 people that have died in a couple months. It's a pretty serious virus.
Brian,
that number.
We don't know what that number actually is.
You don't know what that number
we really
is.
According
don't
to
know.
who?
According to the fact that the CARES Act is paying hospitals.
What does it have to do with the death toll?
Because hospitals,
think that they're making it up?
have an incentive to list it as a death. Absolutely, yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
Evan, you've
Absolutely.
asked me, where's your proof that's your opinion? So now I'm going to ask you the same question. Where's your proof that you think that these death numbers have been inflated?
I'm asking for proof that these numbers are correct. And what I'm saying is these numbers are all because of the pandemic. All these numbers you just gave me are all because of this virus that killed them. Is that what you're saying? That's what the number is, right?
In not all cases, but in many cases,
Let
they
me tell
had
you,
the coronavirus.
Let me tell you a stat here. So the last 3 years, from February 1st through May 1st, there has been 715,000, 719,000, and 720,000 deaths in 2020. Why you want to justify shutting down the economy and putting 32 million people out of work, including 400,000 in Nevada, then why is that number? That number should be 1.8 million. It shouldn't be the exact same number. So where are the influenza deaths? Where are the pneumonia deaths? Where are the other deaths? Where is this overall pestilence that is taking place in the United States? It's only economic at this point because the deaths have not increased the last 3 years. I mean, the data came out.
What does that have to do with the coronavirus? We've only had the coronavirus for several months. Scientists are trying to come up with something that can cure the virus, or something. There's something called a flu shot. You can go and get shots. We don't have that.
You're totally missing the point. The point is, Brian, we're not seeing the increase in deaths that we should expect to see from having such a destructive pandemic. The deaths are the exact same as they were the last 2 years, but now 32 million people don't have jobs.
What do you mean the last 2 years? We didn't have the coronavirus 2 years ago.
I'm saying overall deaths in the United States from February 1st to May 1st.
Deaths from what?
Collectively, no matter what it is.
What does it have to do with the coronavirus?
Just death in general is not up in the United States
what does that
in
have
the
to do
last
with,
3 years now.
What do car accidents and heart attacks have to do with people dying in this pandemic?
The whole point of what we're doing right now is we're trying to prevent hospitals from being overrun and people dying, right? It was all about stop the spread. Then it was flatten the curve, and now it is basically eradicate the virus. Or if you're a Democratic
It's always
state,
been how do we save lives and make sure people do not contract the virus.
But what I'm saying is the death toll is not higher across the country than it was 2 years ago or last year.
That has nothing to do with the coronavirus.
It has everything to do with the coronavirus.
What does 2 years ago have to do with now?
Because the entire goal is to prevent a total increase in deaths and hospitalizations from.
What does a car accident have to do? What does a drunk driver or somebody who overdose have to do with the corona? I don't understand the correlation.
How do you not understand that? Do you understand what I'm saying, Evan?
I have no idea.
Evan, what do you think I'm trying to say right now?
Okay. We have so many people die each year in America, right?
Okay.
Now, all of a sudden, we have a corona pandemic. Okay. Why is there not an increase in the number of people that have died in America? If there's a big death, there should be 30,000 more or 60,000 more, whatever number you want to pick for the coronavirus.
Or to justify 32 million
people dying,
jobs lost, it should be a million
people
more.
dying of something else other than the coronavirus. What does that have to do with this pandemic? What does that have to do with it? When you contract the coronavirus, okay, and what does that have to do with somebody dying in a car accident or dying of a drug overdose or dying having sex? What is that? I don't understand. What is the correlation?
I have 100 people that die every year in America.
Okay.
I have 100 people. Now, we have a corona pandemic. It's killing so many thousand more people, or so many hundreds or tens or whatever, a couple more people. It kills one more person, right?
Then
how come my death toll is not 101?
But it's not a couple people.
No. That's what I'm saying. If I have 100 people that die in America in 1 year, right? Now I have a corona pandemic. Now I get one person that dies because of that. Now how come I don't have 101 dead people? How come I still only have 100?
And the argument is that the differential in deaths that doesn't exist does not justify the jobs that have been lost and the economic damage that has taken place.
Let's get back to the phone
That
calls.
is the argument.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Ira. Ira, you're on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ira?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. What's on your mind, Ira?
Not much. We can pretty much talk about anything, but I've talked to you a few times. So the last time we were talking, I was trying to talk about, there's 70,000 people dead, which is terrible, but there's only 30 million people unemployed.
Mm-hmm. I don't. Well, here's my opinion on that, because you're bringing up unemployment and deaths. Let me tell you something. I'd rather have the whole world unemployed than more people die. When you're 6 feet underneath the ground,
that's a crazy thing you've ever seen.
No, it's not. When you're 6 feet underneath.
Ever.
With 30 million people out of work,
Okay. Let me just finish my thought. You're cutting me off. You're cutting me off. I would rather. All right. Thank you. That's very nice of you, sir. I would rather people not have a job than be 6 feet underneath the ground, because as you know, when you're 6 feet underneath the ground, you don't care whether you're unemployed or not. You don't care if you have benefits. You don't care if you're going to lose your small business, because you're dead. And I care more about people living and dying than people that, listen, it's a horrible thing people are unemployed. I have sympathy and empathy for all those people, some of whom have lost their businesses. We've had some of those people on this show before. Just because I want to make sure we are safe does not mean I don't care about the economy. I just put lives ahead of the actual economy.
But you have to realize that unemployment can lead to death, and will, in a lot of cases, lead to death.
I'm sorry?
Yes, you have evidence talking about this never should have bet down because the numbers doesn't mean the government should have shut it down.
Okay, well, I disagree with that. I disagree.
Listen to me. Let me finish. You got 30 million people out of work.
You've said that.
What do you think they're going to do? They have no money.
Okay, so let me respond to that now. All right. Well, you asked me a question. Now I'm going to answer your question.
I'll expand on it
okay,
after he's done.
You asked me a question. Now I'm going to answer your question. While the unemployment benefits are not perfect in this country, certainly not in this state, there are many people that if they were working, they are able to get unemployment benefits to get by. Now, I understand that there are a lot of small businesses that are struggling. I completely and totally get that. I am a firm believer, and maybe this is the positive side, I'm a firm believer is eventually America's going to come back. We're going to get this thing back on track. Now, again, my number one concern is always the health of the people, the good people in this country. And that is where I look at first. Number two should be the economy, not number one. Number one is the well-being of the citizens in this country. I understand there are 30 million people that are out of work. I have empathy and I feel horrible, but I have more empathy for all those families out there, the 70,000 plus, I believe, or close to 70,000 that have died. I'm thinking about them first before I'm thinking about those that are unemployed.
If you're worried about health, then let's talk about cancer. Cancer kills 650,000 people every year in the United States.
Why are we talking about cancer?
Let me finish, Brian. And sugar has a proven catalyst of cancer and the formation and the spread of cancer. By that logic, I mean that's 10 times more people than have died of in the last 3 months of the coronavirus.
You can't catch cancer by going to the supermarket.
By that logic, we should be taking sugar out of all the food that we purchase.
Okay, sugar, cancer, and coronavirus have absolutely zero correlation.
You're all about health.
Zero correlation. That's a completely different subject. I'm not going to talk about cancer.
We're making measures to stop the coronavirus, but we're creating problems. Why not do the exact same thing with something like cancer, which actually kills 10 times more people than the coronavirus has, and it has for every year for the last 30 years.
You can stay in your home and not leave your house your entire life, and you can get cancer. I'm sorry, I don't understand that correlation. Let's go to James. James, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, James?
James, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, man? Go ahead, James. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
How come it's always the libtards that don't want to go back to work and want to?
You got us.
Okay, have a nice day, Brady.
Great call, Brady.
702-257.
One of your best.
702-257-5396. By the way, the word libtard is just, it shows his ignorance when you make statements like that. That's like me saying every Trump supporter is a Klan member. I know that's not true. I wouldn't say that. 702, some of them are though. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Penny. Penny, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hi, Penny.
Hi, Brian. I just want to say I totally agree with Evan. I'm totally tracking with you as far as how many people die. And I also think the numbers are skewed because of the hospital getting compensated if the patient dies because of COVID. So good job, Evan. Love listening to you.
Thank you. All right. I just think Penny is a huge Evan Stone adult film star fan. Am I wrong in saying that? I think she's biased.
I only know one Penny, and she's far
You know, I just had a thought about Evan Stone and politics, and I'm thinking to myself, whether it's mayor or senator or president, but Evan Stone, the man the candidate with nothing to hide.
Listen, I vote differently.
Because you have nothing to hide. Everyone can see every piece of you whenever they want to.
I disagree. Evan is a very shy guy. By the way, for the record, it's my opinion. I vote based on if I think you're a good dude. Even if I disagree with your politics. This is a perfect example. If Donald Trump was a good dude, I would have voted for him. Evan's a good dude. He doesn't treat women like the way Donald Trump treats women. He pleases them. Donald Trump doesn't even, when was the last time Donald Trump had sex with his wife? They don't even sleep in the same bed, Evan. That would never happen to you. That would never happen to you. All right, let's go back to the phone call. So who do we got next? Kevin.
He never comes to the orgy.
702-257-5396.
Gets the invites though.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, you're next up. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Pelosi's giving it to him.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Kevin? What's on your mind?
Just calling to say, JD, you're awesome. Brian, I try to deal with you, but 80,000 people a year die from influenza.
Oh, so now let's compare coronavirus to the flu. That's very intelligent. You're comparing coronavirus to the flu. That's a very intelligent thing you're doing, sir. Well, guess what? How long? All right, so let's look at the death rate. Let's go by your standards. How long has the coronavirus been here, and how long you're going by a year of the flu? We're only several months into this, and 70,000 people have died.
Flu season's 4 months long, Brian.
Are you seriously comparing the flu to the coronavirus? Are we still having this conversation? And you're saying you're struggling to deal with me? Are you nuts?
From influenza.
All right. So what are you saying, sir, that this is no worse than the flu? Is that your point, sir? Are you that brain dead? Okay, well, that's ridiculous. That's
My next question is you always dog on Trump. I want to know if you voted for Hillary.
Well, if you've listened to this show and you had half a brain, you would know that I have not voted for Hillary, that I am not a Democrat, and that is a very ignorant statement you just made.
Actually, Kevin, Brian did not vote in the last election.
Well, that's true. I didn't vote. I don't agree with voting for the lesser of two evils unless it's Evan Stone versus Donald Trump. No, I'm just kidding.
Fair enough.
So you're not evil.
I'll take that.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Craig. Craig, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Craig?
Hi. I just wanted to say to Brian that if he's sitting here saying that he's for every life and to hell with the economy.
I didn't say the hell with the economy. I never said that.
Okay. Well,
no, it's not okay. I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, Brian, if everyone was unemployed, there would be no economy, so you kind of said it.
Go ahead, Craig. Thank you. Go ahead.
You're very pious in saying that when you have a secure, good-paying job, if you did not have one, tell me what the hell you think, and if you say that it would be the same thing, then you're not believable.
I have no idea where you're going with this. I don't care how much money you make at your job. My opinion stays the same. I care more about listening to the scientists, the doctors, and the experts when they say it's safe for us to be out there rather than somebody who calls into a show and might have lost his job or is hurting financially. Sir, with all due respect, I would rather you hurt financially than be dead.
No, what he is saying is that if you didn't have a job, you wouldn't have this opinion.
Well, let's hear what he's... Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's easy for you to say that because you have a job.
Well, first of all, once again, you are making an assumption that is not true. You are making an assumption that is not true. For a good portion of my life, radio paid crap, okay? I know exactly what it's like to have no money in your bank account. And I'm telling you right now, if I was in that same situation or I was unemployed or if I was Evan Stone's towel boy as an intern and I wasn't getting paid money, I would still feel the exact same way. And that is this. I care more about the death toll and I care more about life and death than I do about the economy. Doesn't mean I'm crapping on the economy. I'm just putting our safety, health first before the economy. So you can mischaracterize things I say all day long, sir. I know what it's like to struggle. I'm not a trust fund baby, and I understand because I've been working since I was 15 years old. So don't you give me that crap.
Evan, what are your thoughts on Joe Biden, the candidate?
I love Joe Biden.
Do you?
I think he is the best representation that the left could present.
I sense sarcasm.
He is brilliant. He's had so many years doing the same job and still complaining about the same thing. So I know he's got a good plan to fix it.
Wait, are you talking about Mitch McConnell? That's what you're talking about, right?
Mitch can go too.
Evan, do you have anything you'd like to promote on this show?
Evan Stone. I'm going to run for mayor of this beautiful city, and there's a reason why. Because yes, I can do the job, and not thinking that maybe I can do the job. The city itself does not need promotion. Right. What the city needs is someone to show you the promotion. The city is already
that.
beautiful, perfect, immaculate. The best city you could ever go to have any kind of event, party, get together, gathering, gamble, joyous occasion, because that is what makes Vegas. The people. And I will bring that to you.
Wow, I think that round of applause.
Really good.
I think that
Really
was
good.
That was very impressive. Listen, I am making my endorsement right now. I said Larry David for president, Evan Stone for mayor of Las Vegas. Evan, you have my vote. Hey, this has been a lot of fun, man.
Really enjoyed
this
it.
Has been a lot
Fantastic.
Of fun.
Thank you very much.
We need to take more phone calls earlier when you get here because I like the calls. They're a lot of fun. But I want to get you back on the show, man, in a few weeks or so. I know you have a busy schedule, but bring your lovely girlfriend as well because she's very pretty to look at. And by the way, she's awesome. She's absolutely awesome.
We're actually gonna rent out a tiny house. That'll be our next location for our
Yeah,
set.
he's like, you guys got a job. You have no idea. We're actually in the back of a van right now.
Evan, all seriousness, we bust each other's balls on social media. I love you, man.
I love you too.
You are awesome, Evan. You are the best, and we look forward to having you on the show again real soon. All right, everybody. I'm sure Sean Hannity will have a porn star on his show. The Sean Hannity Show is coming up next, everybody. Have a great day.
On the battlefield, there's a saying: America's military men and women live by.
When was the last time you talked to her? No, I haven't talked to her in a while. Was it just a recent article that she's